in Exhibit 14, you've got down a specific day.
Mm-hmm.
Prepared cases for pretrial, November the 5th, 2021, 24 hours at $250 an hour, 6,000. So this wasn't about a range. It was about the work that you did on November the 5th.
Yeah, sorry we late. Sorry I'm
Mr. Gillen,
late.
look at the top
But
of the
right now
invoice
we taking in
where it says date
the
completed.
Fani Willis
What I
hearing.
want you to do, Mr. Wade, is focus
is-
on the date.
The person being
that you have
interviewed or
down
being
there.
that's testifying right now. This is
What
Nathan
you
Wade.
billed for on November
This is
the
Nathan
5th,
Wade.
2021.
Mi-
I thought it was already in. I thought 14 is in.
Again, Mr. Gillen, it says completed date completed. The dates that you see here are the dates that work was completed. So on November the 5th, I completed the task of preparing the cases for pretrial. That's the date I completed it. Then it took me.
My question was, read out loud the entry for November the 5th, 2021, and how many hours you billed that day. Just do that for me, if you would.
I can't do that.
Excuse me, I believe the witness is entitled to answer his question. That certainly wasn't the question that Mr. Gillen asked.
All right, well, the question now is to read a certain entry, so.
All right. Just read into the record, Mr. Wade, on November the 5th, 2021, how many hours did you bill the citizens of Fulton County for on that day? Just read it out, please.
I completed the task on November 5th,
Oh, here we got.
2021.
We in here. We in here.
24 hours was billed at $250.
Appreciate that hood therapy. But yeah, right now he's specifically being asked about his billing hours. If Fani Willis was going over his billing hours with him, they really reaching. Now I tell y'all this.
When
This
you
attorney
were-
is doing better than Ashley
You talked
Merchant.
about your relationship.
He's
with,
doing better than Ashley Merchant.
Miss Willis. And your testimony is that it began in 2022. Do you remember that testimony?
No, sir. Our relationship began in
Your romantic
2019.
relationship began in 2022? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
That's
Yes,
your
sir.
testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you were re-upped on this contract, you had a romantic relationship already established with Miss Willis. Yes or no?
In 2022?
Yeah. When
Yes,
you were
sir.
re-upped on November the 15th, 2022, you had a romantic relationship with Miss Willis.
I signed the second contract. Yes, sir.
Answer my question, please. On
I'm not going to use the words re-up.
signed up on the
He know what re-up
whatever
means,
you want to
something
call it, your contract.
He know
on
re-up
November the
means something
15th,
else.
2022, you had a romantic relationship already.
Shout out to
existing
Miss
with
Ma'am,
Willis.
hood
Yes or
therapy,
no?
KJ
I
in the
signed the
building.
contract, the second contract. Yes, sir. During the
Had a
course of
relationship.
a romantic relationship.
Yes or no? You had a romantic relationship with her at the time that you signed up the extension on November the
Yes.
15th, 2022. Yes or no?
The answer to that question is yes.
Clearly, yes.
Now, this was before the special purpose grand jury released a report. Isn't that correct? Correct?
Are you asking me if it's before the work was completed or before the special purpose grand jury actually publicly released the report?
When they
Those are
released
two
the
different-
report. Your relationship with Miss Willis already existed when the special purpose grand jury released its report, correct?
At the time the report was released, yes, sir. But you
And-
understand that the report, the work had been completed prior to the release of the report. You understand that?
And your relationship with Miss Willis, of course, was prior to the indictment in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this has been established. This has been established.
Your Honor, if I may just ask my folks over here whether there's anything I need to clean up on.
Look, they not
That's all the
doing
questions I
good,
have.
y'all.
Thank you.
He did the best though. He did the best. Cause look, what I will say about Nathan Wade,
Well, I don't think we went through.
what I do find problematic about Nathan Wade is his divorce and his divorce proceedings. The nigga wasn't 100% honest in his divorce proceedings, and they trying to use that against him. He wasn't all the way 100 on his divorce, and so they trying to use it against him. So they trying to mess up his credibility by being like, well, you said this in your divorce, but you saying this right now. But regardless of what he said in his divorce, that's a whole different proceeding. That shit does not matter. That shit does not matter.
I'm going to try to keep my questions very specific.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And
he
I'm gonna
might
also,
cook.
of course, try not to go back into specific questions that have already been asked.
He
Okay.
might
Yes,
cook
sir.
though.
When did your relationship with Miss Willis end?
2023.
Can you give us an approximation of, not by date, but by month?
Summer 2023. Forgive me. I'm a man. We don't do the date thing.
That ain't gonna help you, nigga.
Summer 23, I would say June, maybe.
Okay. Using the euphemism personal relationship, did you have any personal relationship at all with Miss Willis after the summer of 2023?
I want to make sure that I'm answering your question. Are you, because
Let me rephrase if I might. The way it has been characterized in, for example, the response of the state, and I believe in your affidavit, is there's a difference between a personal relationship and a professional relationship, correct?
yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not talking about a professional relationship. I'm talking about the personal relationship. Have you had a personal relationship at all, and you know what I mean by that, after the summer of 2023?
Are you asking me if I had intercourse with the district attorney?
I was trying not to, but I guess if you're going to characterize it as that, the answer would be,
The answer would be no.
so it's been purely professional since the summer of 2023.
So they ain't even together no
That's where
more.
we're having issues.
Okay, you'll have to explain because I don't know what the issue would be.
No, I will explain to
Thank
you. You say personal. We're very good friends, probably closer than ever because of these attacks. But if you're asking me about specific intercourse, the answer is no.
Or romantic.
If I
Say,
change
why
it
can't
from
y'all say
intercourse
romantic?
to romantic.
There you go.
No.
Like, why can't y'all just say romantic?
During the direct examination, you made a statement, at least I believe I heard it correctly, that you, personal relationship, and now I'm talking about that characterized the sexual romantic relationship, was not a secret. Is that correct?
Wait. If you're asking me if people knew that we were having sex, no, they didn't.
See, he not about to let them.
Whether
He
people
not
knew
about to
that you
say
were
nothing. He
dating,
not trying to
whether
say.
you were romantically
He ain't
involved.
about to be forced into
You
saying
said
that.
that
He
it
ain't
was
trying
not
to
a
say.
secret.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't a secret. It was just private. My mother knew, obviously.
Did anyone in the district attorney's office that has worked on this case know that you were dating or had a romantic relationship with District Attorney Willis?
I don't know what they knew.
Well, did you tell anyone?
No,
Do you have any knowledge of whether Miss Willis revealed it to anyone?
I have no clue.
Okay. So as far as you know from personal knowledge, no one in the DA's team knew, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So if it was a legitimate relationship, is there any particular reason why it was kept secret or private?
Because it's a
Kept
private
secret, it was kept
relationship.
Private.
And the purpose
It's-
for that was?
Because he didn't want
what we
people in
chose
their
to do.
bed.
I'm
Yeah.
asking you why though, not just because you chose. What, if you're dating someone,
Because it's my
why keep it
business.
private?
So, a few reasons. The first one is, and I want to say this respectfully in the right way, there are some people
It's
who are
crazy.
in the public eye who just
Want to
don't
keep
like
their
it, don't
relationship
wish to be
public.
there.
They are private.
I have tried to have lunch or dinner with her publicly. And I can't count the number of people that would approach the table or would accost us as we're trying to walk into a restaurant and just have lunch or have a meal.
That's what I'm saying. They
It's
reaching,
not
y'all.
secret. It is private. We don't want the world
You ain't even got to be famous to want a private
asking
relationship.
questions or interrupting that time. So we weren't trying to keep anything as say that. There's nothing secret or salacious about having a private life.
Nothing.
Suggesting that there was. I'm asking the questions. When you went on the various trips that have been outlined by both Mr. Gillen and by Ms. Merchant, did anyone in the district attorney's office know that the two of you were traveling on personal trips together?
To my knowledge, Mr. Sadal, no.
Okay. And again, that was for privacy, according to your testimony.
Privacy, yes, sir.
Okay.
Black people can't even get privacy these days.
Did
boy.
you and
They
Ms.
asking you in
Willis
court why you want to keep it private? Because it's my
go
business.
to the Hapeville condo prior to your relationship starting at the beginning of 2022?
Prior to having physical contact, prior to having intercourse, did we go to the Hapeville condo?
Again, you keep going to intercourse. I'm trying not to, but fine. The answer to that, or my question would be yes. Did you and Miss Willis go to the Hapeville condo prior to what I want to say November 1st of 2021?
What's y'all thoughts on this, man? Let me hear from y'all that's in
Yes.
the building.
Okay, and the purpose for going to the Hapeville condo with Miss Willis prior to 2021 in what? Or prior to November 1 of 2021?
Could have been any number of things because at that time,
That's what I'm asking, so tell me.
yeah, could have been any number of things because at that time, she had a friend living in that condo. Miss Yurdy lived in that condo.
Whoa.
Okay.
He fucked up. He just
Maybe it was my question was poorly worded. Let me
he
try
just
again.
he just fucked
Your
up.
answer is yes, prior to November 1st of 2021, you would have gone to the Hapeville condo and been there with Miss Willis, correct?
It's already been established that
Yes.
woman never lived there.
And you would have been there, as you indicated, for many reasons, right?
Yes,
Can you give me, just list a few of the reasons?
Miss Yurdy resided there, went to visit her, maybe went to talk about a document that I received.
You would go to
that
the condo
I
to
needed
talk
to
about a
see.
document that you received?
Absolutely,
Okay, go ahead.
absolutely.
Any other reasons?
None come to mind.
None come to mind.
No, sir.
And would
This
you
is
say
crazy.
that was frequent?
I'm
When I
confused.
say
man.
frequent, do you think prior to November 1st of 2021, you were at the condo more than 10 times?
No, sir.
10 times.
Yes, sir.
So if phone records were to reflect that you were making phone calls from the same location as the condo before November 1st of 2021, and it was on multiple occasions, the phone records would be wrong?
If phone records reflected that, yes, sir.
They'd be wrong.
They'd be wrong.
Okay. Where did you live during?
See, they trying to get
Same
enough
place I live
reason
now.
to
which is
subpoena the
not
phone
in
records.
Hapeville, correct?
It is not in Hapeville.
It is north of Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, correct?
It is.
Okay. And any other reasons why you would be in the Hapeville area on multiple occasions prior to November 1st of 2021?
They trying
Let's
to
see.
catch him up.
The
They tryna-
Porsche experience is there.
I'm sorry?
The Porsche experience is there.
Okay, so that would have been one. Any other reason?
Yes, sir. The airport is there.
Airport in Hapeville.
Yes, sir. Delta Airlines is
Okay.
headquartered there.
Headquarters in Hague.
Um,
Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, get that ground back because you kind of confused the folks with what you just said about not
Restaurants there.
Okay.
being around that woman, the Yurity woman.
If that's your recollection, that's fine. I'm not asking you to try to remember everything, but if
Oh,
that's
okay.
Yeah, because y'all missed it. It was a disgruntled employee that used to be
Did you
cool with Fani
discuss your
Willis.
affidavit
That was
filed in
like,
connection
yeah, they
with
was
the
dating. I can't give you no
response
more
with Ms.
information though.
Willis?
We're gonna talk about her later.
Did you know of personal knowledge?
Hit that like button.
Willis, put your affidavit before it was included with the response.
I have no clue.
So as far as you know, personal knowledge, Ms. Willis did not know what you said in the affidavit.
I didn't give it to her.
That's what I said. You have no personal knowledge.
No personal knowledge.
And as far as you know, no one else has told you that she did or didn't.
I hadn't asked anyone.
And we've kind of worked this up a little bit, and the numbers could be off. But according to our numbers, $10,000, give or take, would have been reflected on your credit card statements in connection with things of potential benefit to Miss Willis, okay? I want you just to assume that. Of the
can't-
10 assuming
don't
that
assume
there was
that.
$10,000
Don't assume
that you had
shit.
on your credit cards. Is it your testimony that Miss Willis paid you back $10,000 in cash? I'm not asking about,
Can I object? The characterization of $10,000 for Miss Willis's travel, I don't believe is an accurate reflection of what the numbers, at least the summary that I've been provided by the defense, would reflect. I think that's joint travel. And so is that right, Mr. Sato? I'm sorry. to
no,
clarify the question.
it's not joint travel.
All
But
right.
all I'm trying to understand, I'll rephrase because I don't want to get bogged down on specific numbers. You would have received thousands of dollars in cash from Miss Willis, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the thousands of dollars in cash from Miss Willis, do you know, I'm not asking you whether she took it out of her pocketbook or she took it out of a suitcase. I'm saying, do you know the source of the cash?
Just that out of her pocketbook. Yes, sir.
You don't know where she obtained the cash.
I didn't ask her.
And the whole time that she was paying you in cash, you never said, hey, why do you have this amount of cash?
Why would Mr. Sadal, in my practice, people come into my law firm all the time with cash. I never question where they got it.
Yeah, but we're talking not about people that come into your law firm. We're talking about the district attorney. of
But
Fulton
people
County
don't do that.
who,
Like, especially
I'm
if it's a
assuming,
woman that you
receives a paycheck.
engaged and
She
dating.
doesn't
You're not about
get
to be like,
paid
where
in
you get that money
cash.
from?
So just like you assumed, I assumed she got it from her paycheck. I don't know.
Okay, but of course, it's already been, and I'm not going to go back into it. You've not seen any records indicating withdrawals of cash from Miss Willis.
Why would you
Why
see
would
that?
I
Why would
ask her?
I didn't
No,
ask-
sir.
All I said is you haven't, right?
No, sir.
we here, bro? We here, Nathan. It's like a,
Can
just
you
a nigga
explain why
response.
you filed for one day after you were hired by Miss Willis? You filed on November 2nd of 2021. You're hired on November 1st of 2021.
Now
Why
let's get into
the day
let's get into the
after?
substance.
You mean one day before? So
You filed for divorce one day after you were hired, right?
okay, I'll answer your question.
Okay, please.
So in 2015, when my wife had the affair, we had a
Because
conversation.
his wife had an affair with his friend.
Divorce.
They got divorced because his wife had a friend,
Again, the better practice, at least for
affair with his
my
with one
children
of his best
at the
friends.
time, was to stay in place until the youngest could graduate and matriculate into college. We did that. When she graduated, matriculated into college, at the time, my wife had moved back and forth to Houston, to Texas.
Chastorian in the
She's
building.
in
What's good with
Texas.
it?
We take our child off to college. We come back to Georgia for a brief period of time. Divorce gets filed.
Chastorian is hard to
Sir.
say. It's
There
hard
we
to
go.
say.
Now, the reason that date was selected,
Yes, sir.
Was-
That's what I asked.
the specific reason that specific date was because she was only in town for a brief.
Your Honor, this is attorney-client privilege. Why he decided to file his.
And why do you have the right to object on his behalf for attorney-client privilege?
Because,
Well, I'll make the formal objection.
All right, there we go.
Get it right.
and-
Get it right.
I believe
start
that
there.
he's already attempted to answer this question and there was no privilege raised. So he's given a partial answer and now he's about to finish that. So first of all, I don't think it's covered by attorney-client privilege and I'll deal with that if you want me to. But otherwise, he's already answered part of it. So he doesn't get to say, now I'm going to stop. So
Well, it was a long preface, but I don't think it ever actually got to what might have been
The
at
reason
issue there.
why,
So if
yeah.
you can lay the foundation, we'll deal with the objection.
okay. Let's take a step back, okay? You realize that an attorney-client privilege is the privilege of the client, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you, in connection with your representation, at least has been proffered to the court by Mr. Bradley, that it's up to you to decide whether you want to raise the privilege, right?
Yes, sir.
It's not up to Mr. Bradley.
Yes, sir.
So you have the power, in order to get to the truth of the matter, you have the power to waive the attorney-client privilege, do you not?
I believe that's an appropriate question. The privilege is there,
Whether he uses it or not, it doesn't matter why. Mr. Stato, I think if we're trying to get to the answer to your question, let's figure out whether it covers the question you were trying to.
Yeah, now y'all starting to
And
fuck up.
If I may finish, and your position is you have no intention of waiving your attorney-client privilege, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so now, can you answer
Caught
the
his ass
question
up.
why you waited until November 2nd, the day after you were hired by Ms. Willis to file for divorce?
I can.
Okay.
So, again, Joycelyn had relocated to Texas, and she had been in Texas for months. She was only here for
Easy answer.
a brief period of time to drive my daughter's car back with her. And when she came here to do that, I was able to
Write
then
these notes down.
get her served.
Boom.
So your answer
Simple
as to why
answer.
you waited until the day after you were hired by Ms. Willis on November 1st, 2020.
It's because his wife was in
to file
town,
the
clown.
complaint for the divorce on November 2nd, 2021. Your testimony under oath is because your
She was here.
wife was here, but had not been here in October, had not been here in September, had not been here in August of 2021.
She had been in Texas taking care of her ailing mother
So
and
your
an
testimony-
aging father. So the first opportunity that I had after speaking with my lawyers to take care of that was the date it was filed and served, because she happened to be here.
Easy
It had
answer.
nothing to do with, that was purely coincidental, that contract.
Easy
I
answer. It's a
understand it's purely
coincidence.
coincidence, your testimony.
Yes,
My
sir. And,
specific-
and understand that this was by agreement between she and I, she being my wife and I, that we would divorce when the children matriculated out, and that there would actually have been an agreement attached to the filing. It became apparent that the agreement wasn't going to happen, and things got a little contentious. So that's when the privilege will kick in, and I was forced to do it when I did it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're trying to make a mountain out of molehill.
If I understood correctly, again,
Trump
you tell me
people
if I'm
survive
wrong.
off controversy.
Is it your testimony that your wife was not in Atlanta, Georgia, or the metro area throughout October of 2021?
No,
That's
in
not your testimony?
October of 2021, she was back and forth between here and Texas.
So she was, at least on some occasions, in the Atlanta area.
But that was during the time when we were working through the consent agreement that fell through.
Yeah, I think we're pretty far afield on relevance. The answer to the question about the timing of the divorce filing. and
Understood,
the-
Ms. Cross. Mr. Stato, where are we going from here?
We're about to finish this area, since I'm not going to be able to go any further about, if we want to call the X, we'll call the X for that purpose.
Well, we might have to discuss whether that's a collateral issue altogether.
No, I'm just saying if, I didn't say we will, but we'll,
Okay.
Yeah, you was doing good.
All
You
right,
starting to
so-
fuck up now.
you said that you were aware of the contracts that Mr. Bradley and Mr. Campbell had with the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how did you become aware of those?
Just through conversation, they
With
told
who?
me.
Conversation with who?
Mr. Bradley and Mr. Campbell.
So you were discussing matters with Mr. Bradley which were not related to attorney-client privilege, correct?
Related to the contracts, yes.
Okay, but you were having conversations that would not, even though, if I understood correctly, Mr. Bradley was your attorney at the time, correct?
At what time?
At the time that Mr. Bradley received his contract from Fulton County, which would have been beginning of January or in January of 2021, right?
Is that the date of his contract?
Pretty close.
I don't know what the date of his contract
What's it-
was, but if
Say for my
it was
purpose-
after the date of the filing of the divorce, then yeah.
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about after the date of the filing of the divorce. It's been represented to the court that you had an attorney-client relationship with Mr. Bradley from 2015
that's starting to clash a little
forward.
bit there,
Yes,
bro.
sir. Yes, sir. That is correct.
When Mr. Bradley received his contract with Fulton County, that was in 2021, correct?
But that contract, it was
I
about the
don't know.
contract though. It wasn't about his
We can prove
divorce.
that through other evidence. But at the time that Mr. Bradley was doing work for Fulton County, if I understand, you still had an attorney-client privilege, at least you're claiming one, with Mr. Bradley, correct?
Yes.
So when you talk to Mr. Bradley about
About
matters
his-
with his contract in Fulton County, those were not covered by your attorney-client privilege, correct?
No.
They were not.
Okay, and that meant that not all communications with Mr. Bradley were covered by attorney-client privilege, correct?
Bro, conversations about their
those certainly were.
relationship.
Well, but my question was, not all communications with Mr. Bradley were covered by, at least as you've been represented to the court, by the attorney-client privilege, correct?
Those
Those communications were
conversations.
not.
So there were communications outside of the attorney-client privilege, correct?
Yes.
With Mr.
Yes.
Bradley?
I feel
If
like
you're
all
asking me
niggas
if I
make
ever
the same
communicated with
confused
him-
face.
Outside of the attorney-client privilege, the answer is yes.
Yes.
I communicated with him outside the attorney-client privilege.
We all make that same confused. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you asking me this?
Let's
Let's take a
finish
break.
this up.
Yeah.
In
Yeah. You hit a roadblock
call
there,
it,
sir.
Roman number 4, or is it just defense? Okay, in defense exhibit number 4, and Mr. Gillen went over with you your responses to certain interrogatories on May the 30th, 2023. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
I'm not going back into those. The words in the interrogatories are already in evidence, so we're not going to do that. But the ones that we've gone into, there were 2 of them. And your answer to those was none, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, on January 25th of 2024,
Yes, sir.
you again were in a position that you answered those same interrogatories, the 2 that we're talking about. I can get specific if we need to, but as long as we understand we're talking about the same 2.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Man, they doing
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of just jumping around. They cannot
And they
stay
are in defense
focused
exhibit
on one
number
specific
6,
argument. They
and
just
they
going
are
from thing to thing to try to catch him up
interrogatories
on something.
And number
This is what you
5.
call throwing
Okay.
shit at the wall and see what'll stick.
Go ahead.
No, I want you to be able to see it. So it's a defense exhibit number 6.
I don't.
So you have 6 up there? Okay. I'm told that you have 6.
Okay.
Krishard Williams said, I finally caught another live. Appreciate you joining this, family. Too bad it had to be a part of this foolishness. Because what?
here we are.
Why he trying to find this? Let's be clear.
You would agree with me that
Hold on.
in defense exhibit number 6, and we're talking about interrogatories of January 25, 2024,
Yes, sir.
that's the same interrogatory, same words that were in the interrogatory that Mr. Gillen went over, which was dated May 30th of 2023, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your original response in defense exhibit number 6 was none, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your updated response was
He started out with the
plaintiff declines to
interrogatories. Now they going
respond
back
this
to the interrogatories.
interrogatory and asserts his privilege pursuant to OCGA section 24-5-505, correct?
Yes, sir.
You know that 24-5-505 breaks down into two privileges, right?
Which is why I was specific. I said I asserted the privacy privilege.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. In your updated response, there's no reference to privacy, correct?
Yes, there is in the code section 24-5-505.
Okay, but
There's
it
a
also-
reference to privacy.
Just go with me, okay? That code section
You reaching.
says, does it not? No party or witness shall be required to tell.
Nah, Krishard, we're not going
as to
tonight.
any
We
matter
we
which
going
may
live
incriminate
tomorrow.
Or tend to incriminate such
Tomorrow
party or
afternoon.
witness, or
Tomorrow
which
afternoon we
shall
will be
tend to
live.
Disgrace or public contempt upon such party or witness. You'd agree with that, right?
I'm not reading it.
I'm sorry,
I'm not reading it. I don't have it in front of me.
if I may, just,
Ms. Stato, we can, I can take judicial notice that is what the rule says if you want to ask him any follow-up questions.
okay, thank you. You are not claiming that your answer to number 4, interrogatory number 4, on January 25th, 2024, incriminates you, that is, as in Fifth Amendment privilege, right?
That's correct.
You're claiming the second part, that it would bring infamy, disgrace, or public contempt, correct?
And that's exactly what it
That's the
did.
full thing, and also the witness doesn't have it in front of him, so I don't know how he could respond to that. He asserted several times privacy is why he invoked that statutory privilege.
Overruled.
Appreciate it,
I'm
KJ.
claiming privacy.
The privilege that you make reference to is to infamy, disgrace, or public contempt upon the witness, right? Or party. That's the section that you were relying on, correct?
If that's what it says, yes, sir.
Well, I could show you, but I think he indicated he can take judicial notice of the statute. So
We know the
assume that
statute.
what I'm telling
Come
you is
on.
accurate, okay?
Come
Yes,
on.
sir.
How would an answer of none bring infamy, disgrace, or public contempt upon you?
So as I explained in direct of Mr. Roman's counsel, the minute she elected to intervene into my divorce proceeding, I then started to understand the bigger picture, which was that all the attorneys in the election interference case were colluding with Joycelyn's divorce lawyer. And because of that, I said, privacy. I don't want my divorce proceeding to bleed into this criminal proceeding. I
Yeah.
just didn't want that.
So you raised a privilege, if I understand, that indicated that your answer would bring infamy, disgrace, or public
trying.
contempt upon you,
He's reaching.
right?
He's
I
reaching.
object to the relevance of this. It's been asked and answered several times.
Mr. Stato, where are we heading with this?
Where we going?
I think I can finish that up by saying, you didn't say none again. You asserted a privilege, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you did the same thing, did you not, with number 5?
It's a
That's
reach.
You didn't say none again, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is the answer to the interrogatory number 4, that you have it in front of you, is the answer none? Is that the truth?
The answer is to that interrogatory is as I placed it at the time I responded,
trying.
sir.
I'm
That's
asking you
trying.
now, is the answer to that interrogatory
The answer
none?
is still privilege.
So he's apparently electing to apply the same privilege, Mr. Stato, to that exact same question.
And I have a case which indicates that we can get beyond that if the court deems that appropriate.
And to what end?
Hmm?
To what end? Where
Well, I know this
The
judge
privilege
is
actually
tired,
does not
boy.
apply, and he must answer the question.
and where does that get us? Even if
That-
he answers the question, hasn't he already kind of said everything he has to say about the nature of the relationship, how long it lasted, when it ended?
No,
what
I
financial
think it would
benefits were
prove,
exchanged?
I think if he is forced or compelled to answer the question, he will either answer it falsely by saying none, or he answer it truthfully by saying yes, and then telling us what it is. That's what I believe. That's why I'm asking.
But the interrogatory you're referring to, though, the question contained there,
Two interrogatories, yes, sir.
it's the entertaining one, it's whether there were other relationships.
Right.
Right.
That's
With the
already been over a
language
million
that's in the
times.
interrogatories.
Sure. Haven't we already covered that in all the other questions that we've had so far?
But
Yes.
we have, but again, the court could.
Ashley Merchant
if
did
I
a
could
terrible job, though, y'all.
require
She did a
compel
terrible
an
job.
answer from him as to whether his answer would still be none, then we would know whether or not he was telling the truth. Now, if the answer is
See, the crazy thing is, like, they get caught up on like this little minutia where they trying to call him a liar. That's it. They just called him a liar. They're trying to call him a liar, say he's not trustworthy.
it's privilege, and that you can pierce that.
You just called his
because
privilege
it's
bogus.
Material fact in connection
crazy.
with this case. Again, it's a call that Your Honor makes. I have the case law that says you can do that, but it's your discretion.
Ms. Cross?
Your Honor, Mr. Wade been on the stand now for several hours, and been asked and answered very personal questions that I believe cover the issues. Mr. Sato is making argument, and this is properly an argument to make for the later to the court, and not a question to propound to the witness.
So as I see it, the only relevance these interrogatories have to this case really whatsoever would be as either prior inconsistent or consistent statement. And to that end, I think the question has been put to him again and again and again. He's answered how he believes he felt his answer should be and why he answered a certain way. And as it goes to credibility, I think at this point we're arguing weight, and I don't really see the value in pushing this issue
Woo!
further.
That hurt.
That
Just for
was
the
just-
record, the case
That
that I was going
hurt.
to refer
Please
to
do.
is State versus Wakefield.
Because they've been pushing
At
these
324
these
Georgia Appeal
interrogatories.
587.
They've been pushing it all day.
And
They've
specifically,
been pushing it all day. Ashley Merchant spent like 45 minutes on the interrogatories. He's
590,
literally saying that it don't have to wait. The
in which
judge
they
said it don't
talk
have to
about
wait.
this specific privilege. This is
They
a
hurt them. They hurting
2013
themselves.
case. And then they footnote to footnote 3. And footnote 3 says, there are times when the materiality of the evidence outweighs.
Yeah, all he doing right now is just describing the past precedent that gives the judge the ability to make him answer the question. He's saying that overriding that right is not heavy enough. Like the relevance isn't significant enough in order for him to throw out that right or that privilege. Which meant like a lot of their case was centered around the interrogatories.
Mr. Cromwell,
It's not a good look for them.
Ms. Cross.
Mr. Wade.
Now this is
have
the
you
state's
filled out
first
Exhibit
time
14 in front of you?
prosecuting, or not prosecuting, but
Invoice.
questioning
believe I have
Nathan
them
Wade,
all.
the infamous Nathan
All
Wade.
right. So you were asked, Mr. Wade, about a couple of the invoice items. And your testimony, I think, was that the percentage of income post special counsel appointment in November 2021, the percentage of your income roughly after that time was about 50-50 Fulton versus other income from your law practice, correct?
Roughly, yes, ma'am.
Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Yes, ma'am.
How about your time? I'm interested in the percentage of your time from November 2021 to, let's say, the close of the special purpose grand jury when it was dissolved in January 2023. Can you estimate for us the percentage of your time that was spent on Fulton County work versus other work?
Oh, gosh. 99, 99% of the time here in this building, working on this case.
All right. It was, as I understood your testimony, it was an intense period in terms of hours while that special purpose grand jury was meeting, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was head or manager of the election integrity case during that time for the district attorney's office?
I was.
You were coordinating the efforts?
Yes, ma'am.
And those efforts included not just the proceedings that were happening.
Shout
in
out to the
building,
Midas
correct?
Touch.
That's correct.
And we don't need to go all through it, but is your representation that 99.9% of the time, let's restrict it to 2022, 99% of your professional working time was devoted to this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And the remainder, whatever it was to some of your other cases that were ongoing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. 2022, I want to focus on that a little bit because if we are looking at, I believe, the financial affidavits, do you have those in front of you as well?
I do.
The financial affidavit that was filed in your divorce case in January 2022, you estimated your monthly income at that time was $14,000 a month, right?
In 22?
January 22.
Yes, ma'am.
January 20 number comes to.
9,000.
What about 2024?
I don't know.
Is that there in front of you? Is that one, that's not one of the ones that's there in front of you?
No, ma'am.
All right. So as reflected in those financial affidavits, your income decreased as a result of your work in this case, correct?
Significantly.
The structure of your firm, we talked a lot about that, and I don't want to go through it anymore, but than we need to, but your firm changed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In the early part of 2022, there were three of you, you and Mr. Campbell and Mr. Bradley. You split expenses, is that right?
That's correct.
And you profit shared among yourselves, correct?
Correct.
After Mr. Bradley left the firm, then there were just two of you, correct?
That is the cause of the significant change. Yes, ma'am.
So now you have two people bringing in income, correct?
Correct.
And one of those people, you, is spending almost all of your time devoted to this election integrity case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your income from this election integrity case is less than what it was the year before.
Yes, ma'am.
We talked about the monthly caps, or we didn't talk about it. There was talk about the monthly cap that was included in your contracts, indicating there was a certain threshold that you could reach, number of hours a month. And over that amount, you were not going to be compensated, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And you kind of smiled when you said that.
How y'all think Nathan Wade doing? How y'all think Nathan
That's
Wade
bitter,
doing?
bitter.
All right. Exhibit 14, is that still there in front of you?
It is.
I want you to take a look, please. That's a collection of exhibits that includes all of your invoices as was represented. I want you to take a look at invoice number 9. Is
Yes, ma'am.
that there in front of you?
I have it.
Invoice number 9, Mr. Wade, indicates that you performed hours of work that you were not compensated for because your cap had been reached.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to take, and what did you do in those circumstances? When the hours that you worked per month were more than the cap that was in your contract that you were permitted to be paid for?
I was forced to lose that time. I didn't get paid for it.
Okay. And that's what exhibit number 9 shows?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And in exhibit number 9, you've got a task, hours that were completed, and you just didn't bill for it. You noted the time and then a 0 beside it because you didn't bill the county for that time.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What about exhibit number, invoice number 13? Can you flip to that for me?
I have it.
Is that a similar situation?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And what is it on invoice number 13?
This invoice makes me cry. There's so many hours here that I worked that I couldn't get paid for.
And you work those hours anyway, Mr. Wade?
Oh, absolutely. This is not the type of job that you could walk away from because you're not getting paid for it. I think there's some professional rules of responsibility to an attorney who's engaged in a case. You have to see it through. So it's not like I could just throw my hands up and say, well, I reached my monthly cap. I'm done. I can walk away. I can't do that. This is ongoing. It's constant, and I have to do the work.
Can you look at invoice number 23 for me there in exhibit number 14?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that reflect a similar situation, the hours worked that you were not compensated for?
Yes, ma'am.
Invoice number 24 and 27, can you take a look at those and let us know if that reflects the same situation?
Are you trying to depress me?
No,
Look at
no.
the money I'm.
Hey, he out here working for
It's the
free,
same,
y'all.
yes.
Okay.
He out here working for free,
There's no
and they up there
workaround,
talking
though.
about
Attempt to
she
work
eating
around
off
that,
of him.
Contractual
Financial
cap on your hours.
gain. This nigga working
Oh,
for
no, ma'am.
free.
All right. You were asked a lot of questions, Mr. Wade, about the affidavit that was submitted, correct? Do you recall those questions?
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this invoice. You know, if I was going to get a benefit, I'd like that benefit.
All right, nigga, keep it to the case. Keep it to the case. All right, look like
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Do you have your
this nigga trying to
affidavit there in front of
be
you?
jokes and like niggas is the
I do.
same
The
everywhere.
affidavit, of course, was attached to and provided in support of the state's response to Mr. Roman's motion, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you prepared that affidavit,
I did.
you signed that affidavit.
I did.
All of the allegations and the representations in that affidavit are true. Is that right, Mr. Wade?
Every one of them.
Every one of them. You were asked a lot of questions about
Judas Redemption was good with
line
it.
number 34. Can you turn to that for me, please? It's on page 4 of that affidavit.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you read it out loud for me, please?
The district attorney and I are both financially independent professionals. Expenses for personal travel were roughly divided equally.
Lee
between
was
us.
good with it.
At times, I have made and purchased travel for District Attorney Willis and myself from my personal funds. At other times, District Attorney Willis has made and purchased travel for she and I from her personal funds. Examples of District Attorney Willis's purchasing she and I with her personal funds for our personal travel are attached.
Funds, Mr. Wade. As you understand the term funds, does that include cash?
Yes,
Does that include credit?
yes,
Does that include reimbursements?
yes.
This kills their whole
You
position.
didn't represent in your affidavit, Mr. Wade, that you were including all of the receipts from funds or travel expenses that were paid on your behalf by District Attorney Willis, correct?
That's correct.
You had, I think your conversation with Ms. Merchant was you produced the receipt that you had.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware of any other receipts? Well, let me ask it this way,
Yeah, while they doing that, in case if anybody missed it, they're breaking down the invoices where he just did not get paid at all.
You testified, Mr. Wade, that District Attorney Willis purchased and funded the
Cause right now they talking about, you know, him, like both of them paying for trips and all of that. That like Ashley Merchant got killed on that. What's deadly is the fact that they can show proof that this man did work, and did not get paid. That kills their position because they saying the only reason he got hired was so she can make that, so she could, the state can pay him, and then he can spend money on her. But they not even paying him. He didn't did work and not got paid. That kills their argument. It's this working on this case has been a detriment to him more than it's been a benefit. He ain't getting no extra money. He getting less. The fact that they can show instances of him not being paid automatically kills the whole he got hired for her financial benefit position. Because he should have been getting paid for that if that's the case.
District Attorney. Yeah. You may keep it. You keep it. Does that refresh your recollection, Mr. Wade?
It does, thank you.
Approximately how much was the amount of the ticket that District Attorney Willis purchased for your travel to Bailey's?
$887.35.
Yeah, I know how they would say it was like all luxurious trips. They going on Carnival cruises with his mama. At that, this don't look good on them, man. They ain't got close to proving financial benefit at all. They tried to prove that the relationship started earlier than what they put in the affidavit, and we're gonna talk about that later though, because we y'all missed that part.
Affidavit was that the personal relationship, I think we've called it dating today as well. The personal or dating relationship between you and the district attorney began sometime in early 2022, March, I think was your testimony. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And that March date isn't included in the affidavit. The affidavit is less specific, but that was your testimony today?
Yes, ma'am.
And that there was no personal or dating relationship prior to that time, right?
None.
Right. Mr. Wade, I'm sorry. I'm going to direct your attention to 2020. In 2020, were you dating the district attorney?
No,
2020, that was during the COVID pandemic, correct?
it was.
Was there a situation for you, Mr. Wade, that made you particularly vulnerable during the COVID?
Yes, ma'am. And in 2020,
Here you go.
and a portion of 21, I was battling cancer. And
Shit.
that prevented me from pretty much leaving the
He put the cancer card on their ass.
environment
Ooh,
still-
you ain't none of this been in the media.
I had health on my mind.
You were particularly cautious during that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you dating anyone in 2020?
No, ma'am.
Nah, I couldn't. Who was I dating while I had cancer? Look, get him,
Thank you,
Nathan.
Mr. Wade. That's all I have.
You
Sir, can we cross on those points only?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, Mr.
She's
Wade,
the one that's
the
been
state
sucking all
asked
day.
you about how much money you're making now versus before, and you said you're making significantly less since you've started working for Fulton County, correct?
Well, I did say that, but what we're talking about is because now at this point, the splitting of the financial obligations in the firm are, now there are two people carrying the weight of three. So that would scale back on the amount of profit.
Well, you're splitting the profits 50-50 though, instead of 1/3, correct?
The profits, yes.
Okay. So, but you did testify that you're making significantly less now. We heard about it for a few minutes, significantly less now that you work for Fulton County, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree with me that $236,000 is more than $184,000?
Absolutely.
Would you agree with me that $262,000 is more than $236,000?
Absolutely.
All of these years, despite you saying that you were a three-way partner with Wade and Campbell and Bradley, and now a two-way partner with Campbell, all of your corporate tax returns are filed in the law firm of Nathan Wade, though, correct?
My returns, yes, ma'am.
Yes, for your law firm.
Well, for my law firm, because I also have personal returns.
Right, and I'm not talking about your personal returns. I'm talking about your business returns.
Yeah, but the question contemplates that my bring home money is more or less. So I want to be clear that is reflected in my personal returns.
I didn't ask you anything about bring home money, though. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about is your question was
He about to get her.
the portion of my testimony dealing with earning significantly less money.
No,
He's
no, the
saying
question
I
is
take in significantly
when-
less money, not my firm
during
made more.
2019, you filed your business returns.
She
I'm
trying to
not
play-
personal.
she
Your
trying to
business
play.
returns for the law firm of Nathan Wade only, correct?
I filed personal and business. Yes, ma'am.
And even though you said you were partners with Bradley and Campbell later on, you filed your business returns not with them, but as a solo practitioner, correct?
I see where you're going. There's a different return for that Wade, Bradley, Campbell entity.
And I'm not asking about that. What I'm asking about is during the years 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, you filed a business return for the law firm of Nathan Wade.
Yes, ma'am.
And in 2019, you said that
She
the
been
law
doing
firm of
this all
Nathan
day,
Wade
running in
made
circles.
$184,000, correct?
No, I don't know.
Does that sound familiar? Does that sound about like what you made in 2019 and reported on your taxes as a business law firm?
If that's what's on the return, yes, ma'am, you're right.
Okay, and I'm happy I can bring those up. I've got one copy. I'm not planning on admitting them for tax returns, but all right, may I approach, Judge?
May.
Thank you. So in 2019, gross profit for the law firm of Nathan Wade is $184,000, correct?
Let's see.
Second line, number 2, gross profit.
Yes, ma'am. 184, 824. Yes, ma'am.
And then in 2020, you also filed Nathan Wade, attorney at law, and your gross profit was $230,000, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In 2021, you also filed as a solo Nathan Wade PC attorney at law, and your gross profit was $236,000, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then in 2022, you filed as a solo practitioner Nathan Wade, and your gross income was $262,000, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm not going to admit those because they've got your social on them. But nowhere in these documents.
The question is, what's she getting at? Because she really ain't saying shit.
I don't. I hadn't looked through them. I'd be surprised if there were something in there that said
Do
that.
you want to
but
look through them?
Listen to the answer. I'd be shocked if there was something in there that said that I received some cash from Miss Willis.
But there is itemized expenditures for travel in here. You did itemize that.
I didn't itemize anything. My
Your accountant itemized it.
I hope so.
But you're responsible for your taxes, even if your accountant files them, right?
I agree.
And so you itemized your expenses for travel on all these documents, but you did not itemize, you didn't put anything in there about you being reimbursed for half of that travel.
Well, those are business returns.
Yes, you used your business card
would-
to pay for the travel, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't put a personal expense on a business return.
But you
so-
used a business card to pay for these
I use a
personal travel?
I use a business card to pay for everything. And what I do is turn over the statement to the accountant, and the accountant then says, okay, this expense, that's personal. We'll put that over here. This expense, that's business. We'll put here. And they reconcile it. So you wouldn't find
She don't know what she doing.
reimbursement from Ms. Willis on a business return,
Okay, so they're not anywhere there.
nor would you find
He cooking her.
No, I'm
He
just asking,
cooking
so
it.
there's nowhere for any of that cash to be reconciled there, right?
on the business returns. No, ma'am.
No, not in a business
we talked a lot
return.
about the financial affidavits. I know the state asked you a couple questions about them. You filed one in 2022. In that one, you stated that you only had $5,000 in cash, correct?
I believe you. Yes,
And
ma'am.
that was sworn under oath.
At the time of the filing, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then in January of 2024, you filed another one that also swore that you only had $5,000 in cash, correct?
At the time of the filing, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in 2022 and 2024, you only had $5,000 in cash.
At that time, yes, ma'am.
At that time. Okay.
And then you also, all of those interrogatories, I'm not going to go through them in painstaking detail, but every single interrogatory you filed, there are 4 of them, all verified ones. Every single one, you said you didn't have any cash stored in a safe, a safety deposit box, or any other location. Plaintiff rarely carries cash. If plaintiff does carry cash, it's a nominal amount, correct?
That's correct.
Ooh, she may have got him on
So
something.
We've got what? 2021, you said you don't have cash. 2023, you said you don't have cash. Again in 2023, you said you don't have cash. And then in
Ooh,
2024,
she
you don't
may
cash,
have
right?
something. She
So-
may got
so you're
something, y'all.
assuming that I received the cash and I stored it. I received the cash and I saved it.
Well, you didn't put it
What's
in the
wrong
bank,
with
right?
receiving? What's wrong with receiving the cash, Ms. Merchant, and spending it?
Nothing's wrong with it. But
So
you
then
didn't put it in the bank.
that would contemplate why the response is on the interrogatories.
So you spent the cash. That's because before when it was asked, you said you didn't want to disclose where the cash was.
No.
Privacy reasons.
No, well, I said that if I were to store cash in my home, then why would I share that with the world, is what I said. I didn't say that I had some cash stored up in some place.
She boxing with him though. She jabbing with
We've
him.
talked a lot about this. I
She's
split
still
with
getting
a third, I
cooked.
split with half. From the check you received from Fulton County, July 15th, 2022. So all the way back for July 2022, not a single check that you've received from Fulton County has gone into a joint banking account. Every single check has gone into your own personal banking account, correct?
All of them, with the exception of the checks that were going into the WBC firm, went into my business bank account, which is solely in my name.
Right. Your
I've-
business, your WBC account that you're talking about, that account was closed though in June of 2022.
Correct.
Okay.
So
So
I would,
everything after June of 2022 was put in a Nathan Wade bank account, not a corporate bank account with
I'm going to ask the
partners.
witness to be permitted to.
I think the question right before that only needed a yes or no. So
no, ma'am. Checks were deposited into firm accounts, law firm accounts.
Law firm of Nathan Wade PC
Yes, ma'am.
as a solo practitioner.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they were not deposited into accounts with Campbell or Bradley.
No, ma'am, they were
Okay.
not.
Thank you.
However, there were checks written to Campbell and Bradley that will reflect the third.
And we've tried to get those bank records, but you've objected to those, correct?
You've tried to get what bank records?
We subpoenaed bank records and you've objected to all of those, right?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the relevance.
It's relevant if he's saying he has all these records, but yet we've tried to get them and he's trying to keep them from us, but he doesn't bring all of the records. And you can make an inference if there's law that says you can make an inference if some documents are within the party's control and they won't provide them, that there's an inference that they're not positive.
Ms. Cross.
Your Honor, there was no obligation for Mr. Wade to produce evidence that Ms. Merchant couldn't find an admissible way to produce. I believe it's irrelevant. We've covered the ground, and I object to any further questioning in this line.
All right, I'll sustain that. Ms. Merchant, let's
That's what I'm saying.
find
I
some
think
new
that's
ground here.
that's six.
you.
That's six.
Are you willing to waive your
Or
privilege
7,
Mr.
8 of
Bradley, so
them
that you can testify?
sustained on
I
her
am
ass.
not willing to waive attorney-client privilege.
Okay, thank you.
That's all. Every time she getting up there, they say they opposition and that shit gets sustained.
I don't want to get into the type of cancer. I don't want to get into the medical condition itself. Did I understand you say that you had cancer in the year of 2020?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain that because of that, in 2020, you were, or kept yourself in a sterile environment.
I tried, yes, sir.
Now, what about 2021?
2021, just focusing on my health, trying to get back to myself.
Remember I asked you some questions about Hateville,
Yes, sir.
the condo?
Yes, sir.
Chris Harris in the building was good with you.
Prior to November 1st of 2021, you had spent time at the condo, the Hateville condo
Yes, sir.
with Miss Willis, right?
Yes, sir.
And with someone else? You said Miss Yurty?
Miss Yurdy, yes, sir.
Okay, so you were not concerned, that was not a sterile environment, was it?
Are you inferring that Miss Yurdy and DA Willis is not sterile? Of course it's a sterile environment. It's a condo.
But don't you remember that I followed up and said, where else might you have been to show your cell phone records from Hateville? And you said, the airport,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Not a sterile environment though, the airport, you agree?
It is not.
Okay, what about restaurants? Not a sterile environment, right?
They are not.
And the Porsche, you said something about a Porsche what?
Course experience.
That doesn't sound very sterile to me. Is that a sterile environment?
Well, you're inside of your vehicle.
Yeah, but don't you mingle with others?
You see, they trying to
You
make
can.
like again a mountain out of molehill,
November 1st.
a mountain out of
That's what you
molehill.
testified to, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just cast doubt on
Why
everything.
you couldn't be dating in 2021, is there?
You mean 2020, Mr. Sadow?
Say 2021.
All right.
Correct?
Well, because even the judge is like, he said he wasn't doing that in
Dating?
2020.
No.
You're asking him in
No
2021.
reason.
No
That's why
reason.
that's why the judge is like 2020. He's like, no, talk 2021. He didn't say that.
All right, Mr. Gillen.
He didn't say that.
Okay.
And then Miss Ma'am, to answer Miss Ma'am, to answer Miss Ma'am question, the reason why they trying to make these finances matter is because the accusation is that the only reason Fani Willis hired Nathan Wade as a special prosecutor for Trump's Rico case was so that she could benefit financially from the state paying him to prosecute Trump. So the arguments that they're trying to show is just like, because their main argument hinges on the fact that they got more, that he's been benefiting financially from this. So if they show it's like, nah, he ain't really been making no bread like that, then they whole case get thrown out the window. They have to prove that he eating. Because all the accusations and arguments is, oh, they going on these long trips together, these lavish trips. This nigga's on a Carnival cruise. Stop.
Physical or sexual or intimate relationship, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And according to your testimony, there was none of that prior to the early 20s.
That is correct.
Apologize, Judge.
All right, not seeing anyone else. Ms. Cross, any redirect? All right, Ms. Merchant, can this witness be excused?
Oh, can they let him go?
Judge, we'd ask to keep him under, we might need him to come back after the next witness.
All right. All right, you missed it.
Ah.
Please don't discuss your testimony with any other witnesses.
She mentioned subpoena, Judge. Let me just say this. There was an inference made that I was somehow evading service of a subpoena.
We can take that up.
That-
I don't think we need to have that on the record in this hearing. Understood, though.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Merchant, any other witnesses?
Yes, we would call Fani Willis. Stand.
Here we go.
Your Honor, I am going to object and remove to the motion to quash district attorneys. There's been now lots of testimony from Mr. Wade. I don't believe that there can be a showing for the need for the district attorney to testify as well. For all of the reasons that were cited in the state's motion to quash initially,
Let's see.
tremendously high burden to call opposing counsel. I don't believe it's been met, particularly given the cumulative nature that would be the subject of personal details that Mr. Wade's now testified to.
All right, Ms. Merchant, what do you think you can establish and have
Okay,
the
Osh.
testimony of Ms. Willis?
Here we go.
And let me stop there.
Conflict in the evidence, Judge. Now that how Mr. Wade has testified, there's a conflict in multiple different issues. I'll just go through all the different issues. The first one is the reimbursement issue, the cash. That opened the door in and of itself to Ms. Willis testifying.
Well, what's the conflict there?
That he testified that he didn't have receipts, but we don't know if Ms. Willis has receipts. So that's one issue.
So we don't know. So there's no conflict,
We don't
right?
know. Right? We
Okay,
don't
so it's a
know.
question, not a conflict. But what else do we have?
So, and there's a lot of different issues with different reasons. The first one would be the receipts. You know, whether or not these cash payments, if there's any cash payment receipts, the Belize trip, whether or not she paid for the entire thing in cash. Mr. Wade doesn't have knowledge of that, couldn't remember. A lot of things he couldn't remember. So now it goes to Ms. Willis, unfortunately.
It's right here. It's like the Super Bowl. This is going to determine if Fani even testify. The judge sounds skeptical. We gonna see.
Couple other trips that we didn't get any information about: Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. All of those could be financial benefits. We don't know. He didn't know. He was very vague about that. Yuri, her best friend, testified that it happened in 2019, and now Mr. Wade has testified that the relationship began to become romantic in 2022. I think is what his testimony was. So that is a conflict in and of itself. Right there, that's a big conflict. We've also got
Okay, so she got a little bit of argument because her Fani homegirl came, our ex homegirl came up there hating, and it was like on her face, like she was clearly hating.
He said he talked with Willis in the conference room after we filed our motion. He specifically didn't use the term cash in the affidavit, but he told anybody who would ask about the cash. And he specifically discussed this brief with her and the response. So I think we have a right to go into those issues.
All right. So you've highlighted the areas you'd like to go into. I think the central question may be, what is it other than, I'm just really curious what she has to say. You have
He's
put on
skeptical.
the record. And so that's what I'd like to go through. Ms.
The
Cross?
judge is
I
skeptical.
think you've identified, Ms. Merchant hasn't itemized inconsistencies for you. She's identified areas of inquiry. The testimony in the record from Mr. Wade it's not inconsistent, it's unrebutted. Excuse me. And so that I don't believe, given the testimony of Mr. Wade and the extent of the questioning of him, that there is any reason at this point to go into the district attorney herself. Again, I know the court's read all the pleadings. It really is such a compelling need, is the language of the case law, a compelling need to call opposing counsel. Given the record that's now before the court, I don't believe it's been met here.
Okay,
Your Honor, Mr. Gillen, very briefly.
tag team. You better get in there.
Needs to testify.
Why?
Her best friend or good friend
Ex
directly
friend.
contradicted the declaration that was made by Mr. Wade attached to the government's response. And wasn't just the declaration of Mr. Wade, it was filed by the district attorney by and through her assistants here. She owns that. And so that affidavit is owned by her, and there are deep concerns that that affidavit is false, and that Ms. Willis knew it was false, and that she needs to come in here if she wants to tell us about the cash. First time we've heard about the cash. Oh yeah, we got cash. Don't have any deposit slips. Don't have any record of it. Maybe Ms. Willis can say, here, all my records where I paid $10,000 in cash back to Mr. Wade.
This is gonna come down to whether or not it's some testimony that y'all missed earlier. Fani's ex homegirl was like, their relationship started in 2019. That would conflict with the affidavit that was dropped last week. I think that's compelling.
Extraordinary lengths to hide their relationship, to hide the nature of their relationship. Extraordinary. The district attorney needs to take the stand, and she needs to tell this court and this courtroom why she filed financial disclosures in 2020, identifying prohibitive sources, which Mr. Wade clearly is a prohibitive source. Did you get gifts and benefits? Now we've seen all this. We've seen the trips. We've seen all of the things that total up to around $10,000 in cash. Yet for the financial declaration for 2021, which was filed in April of 2022, and the financial declaration for 2022, which was filed in April 2023, there is no listing of any gifts whatsoever over $100 from a prohibited source. It cries.
I wish I could
out
fast
for
forward
her
this
testimony.
nigga.
She needs to be able to get up there and say, why didn't you tell on the disclosure form so that people will know the nature of the relationship between prohibited sources and the public official, in this case, the district attorney, who happens to then make a decision to hire someone that ends up being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, or his firm and him, and none of that
See?
is revealed. And the answer is, oh, it's unrebutted. He's explained it's all in cash. Let her get up and let's, and obviously, we are advocates on from that explanation of cash does not pass the smell test or the straight face test. She needs to go on the record. She filed this motion. with
Come
this
on, Judge.
declaration. We've seen what happened here. Now, I'll just 2 or 3 more sentences. We need to have the full picture, as we've gotten from Mr. Wade, of his false interrogatory. Serious business for a lawyer or anybody. And then suddenly he's changing it. She files her financial declarations, same problems. We need her in here to go over all of this and to explain exactly what happened. So we would ask the court that the court allow Ms. Willis to be called and interrogated on these matters.
And I would too, Your Honor.
Woo!
Just a moment, Ms. Willis. So, Ms. Cross, I don't know if you want to speak with Ms. Willis now. It's sounding like maybe they're withdrawing the objection to the motion,
I believe the motion to,
or does Ms. Willis want to take the lead here?
What you gonna do,
withdraw the
Fani?
motion to quash Ms. Willis.
Based on the, I'm ready to go.
Okay, so the position of the district attorney at this point is that she's no longer contesting the subpoena. Ms. Merchant is the next witness.
She said, yo, I don't get, yes, I want to testify.
I would ask,
Let's go, Fani.
3 documents in front of me, and they're the 3 filings of Miss Merchant.
Woo! Yo, hey, so we may have missed the morning, but it's the headliner. The headliner is here. Fani Willis said, fuck the bullshit, let's go.
Does anyone
Y'all,
have the 3 filings of Miss Merchant? Does the court have the 3 filings of Miss Merchant?
she
say the
is
filings,
not
you mean like the
playing.
pleadings?
The pleadings, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I think we could locate those for you. I mean, the supplemental.
She punked her own attorney and said, sit down.
I
No.
want the one filed on January the 8th, the one filed immediately after we filed ours, and the final one.
Yo, do y'all hear?
Break to get them, I can make a copy.
Do y'all hear how she talking to the court? She wanted to see her face to
I have
face.
my notes on it. So if we don't have a clean copy,
Have a
They gonna take a
5-minute
break.
Your Honor,
Let's
I'll get
take
the
5.
documents.
Okay,
All right.
5-minute break. Oh, yo. Hey, I'm so, because I almost was about to watch it in peace by myself and be like, all right. Well, but like, yo, did she not come in here? Hold on, yeah, let me
Some water,
get her some water.
yeah.
Get you some water, champ.
did we elect someone?
Yo, she came in here, started making all the demands. She came in here making nothing but demands. She told her own attorney when they said she needs to come down and sit here and testify. She said, and I think I should too. She just interrupted like the whole proceedings. You feel me? She interrupted the whole proceedings to be like, yo, if you listen, I want to testify. I'm not running. You know what I'm saying? I'm not running. She sat down and said, look, in order for me to do this, I need 3 documents. Boom, boom, boom. They went on break to make sure she had them. Stop playing on her name. I'm telling y'all. Now, while we on break, I ain't gonna lie. Nathan Wade is a nigga. All right, he doing his attorney shit, but you can kind of tell he was trying to be slick in his divorce proceedings, and you know what I'm saying, in certain shit. Now, mind you, it's now because look, Krishard, this is some of the most entertaining shit I didn't see too. I ain't never see nobody just walk into the court. Because ain't nobody really ever came at a DA like that. I ain't never seen nobody walk into the court and just start making the demands. You feel me? Like, listen, this is what I need. I'm willing to testify. This shit about to get good. If y'all thought Nathan Wade cooked, man, Fani said, no, we not quashing this. We killing this. It's dead after this. And Ashley Merchant already has not displayed the ability to compete and to keep up with Fani Willis or with Nathan Wade. All of her, the amount of objections that she got that was sustained could have set a record. She wasn't doing nothing. The two white dudes came in, they was cooking a little bit, but when Fani came in there in that pink, stormed in there like, oh no, we not quashing nothing. I'm testifying. Y'all gonna have to see me. Y'all trying to do it like that? That's how we gonna do it. Man, hey, listen, they taking this 5-minute break, but the judge was seriously considering whether this even need to continue. The judge was looking skeptical about whether or not this is like they've even presented enough evidence for this to continue. Like he was like, oh no, old boy's little rant that may have been slightly convincing. I do think maybe if you making an argument, about, well, he said the money, is she gonna corroborate the money? Right? He brought that. I'm like, all right, that's compelling, right? At least in certain instances, okay, cool. I may want to hear more about that, even though it's not in conflict, right? There's no evidence of any conflict because, you know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing like she filed the affidavit where he said that they evenly handled the shit. But where I think Nathan Wade got the most benefit is all of this conversation about how much he's getting paid, like the fact that it's like, because the whole argument is about financial gain. If this man is working slave hours for free, and it's documented, how, like, there's no way that you could fix your lips and say that it's this other shit going on. There's no way that y'all can say that he paying for lavish trips and he can show you hours that he worked because since he hit that cap, he had to stop working. Man, look. The only thing in the time that we have now, the only thing that I want to bring up from the start of the trial is Fani's ex homegirl. She was on some full hater shit. Like she wasn't really helpful, right? The background to Fani's homegirl, and this was the witness that the defense said is going to prove that they lied about when their relationship started, right? Her homegirl, like they had been friends since college or whatever. She had sublet Fani an apartment, all of that, right? They was allegedly close. When she worked in Fulton County, the homegirl worked in Fulton County DA office, and what the state argued was that homegirl came in and was like, well, how do I explain it? So the state pretty much said that she had a bunch of like discipline issues because her work product was poor. She wasn't doing well. She wasn't performing as well. So the district attorney, Fani Willis, her homegirl, had to tell her, like, either we gonna have to fire you because you not doing good, or you quit. You can resign. But like, because you not performing up to the standard that you should be performing at, you should resign. So after the homegirl resigned, they never spoke again. The only thing that she came up there and said, the only thing she identified was that Fani talked to me about her their relationship. She don't remember what was said. She don't remember when it was said. She don't, except that it was before 2021, which is when I think the 2021, 2022 is when they saying that the relationship took place. But she couldn't give any other information, but she told me. Like, she told me. That's it. But you could tell, though, that it's like they're estranged friends. So it's like, it kind of cut into her credibility. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, you got your ex-boss was your friend, and now y'all not friends no more because she had to let you go because you wasn't doing well at the job. You know what I mean? So it created this doubt in whether or not, you know what I'm saying, like that's credible evidence, because it's like, shit, you a hater. You clearly on some hater shit. Even how you sitting there, you got a whole hater look on your face in this whole shit. You know what I'm saying? So that was really the only thing that happened this morning before that I caught before Nathan Wade came on. Nathan Wade's divorce attorney came on, but he was like, I really ain't talking about none of this shit because that's my client, and if I'm talking about it openly with y'all, and I'm undermining attorney-client privilege in a divorce proceeding. So he didn't really say nothing else. And then essentially what y'all caught was the second half of Nathan Wade's testimony. The first half of his testimony was done by Ashley Merchant, which was the white lady that came in at the end that was sounding like a jackass. But she couldn't get nothing right. She didn't know how to ask questions right. Like I said, there was a bunch of objections that were sustained, and she had to rephrase and redo. And that's why the judge was just like, all right, so they got a motion to quash. What is y'all reasons against it? And even as they was giving their reasons, he was like, yeah, but so Fani really could have just really won and not engaged in this shit. Because it looked like he was leaning towards, I think it was more so 50-50. It's hard to tell now, but based on his body language and I think his overall position of the defendant's position, he was leaning towards the motion to quash. But shit, now that Fani, the cage, said, yo, we about to do this, we about to get it in. It's like, I'm like, all right. This is for the marbles. I should get on TikTok because TikTok is where I be having where I've been talking about Fani the most. And TikTok is where I've been talking about Fani the most, and that's where a lot of the Fani haters been pulling up. Like, oh, she's a liar, she's this, she's that. This is the marbles right here. This is for all the marbles right here. And I feel like Nathan Wade had some spotty moments where I wouldn't even necessarily he's slick, but you could tell he was being slick. You know what I mean? And when you could tell a nigga being slick, it make you kind of this. You know what I mean? It creates a form of mistrust. It creates like a mistrust. But you could tell he was on some slick shit. You know what I mean? So we just waiting for Fani to come back. Bro, like the way that she just came in there and said, yo, it's about this. I'm telling you, Fani right now with this testimony is about to break the internet. This is about to break the internet. I mean, and Trump having a bad day already. If ain't nobody been keeping up, he has his Manhattan case up in New York, the hush money Stormy Daniel porn star case in New York. And he was trying to delay that whole trial till after March, and the judge was like, nah, this hush money trial is starting in March. It started in March. So Trump's first criminal trial will begin. I think they said March 24th. According to Midas Touch, shout out to Midas Touch for we getting this stream from. But man, it's about to get real. All the speculation. You feel me? Like all why this, why that? All your questions is about to be answered in the next couple minutes. All your questions are about to be answered in the next couple minutes. Y'all better get her copies and let's get it in. Fani, please do not disappoint. Please do not disappoint. Because they really been on some bullshit with this case. They really been on some bullshit with her credibility. All of that. What y'all expecting though? What y'all expecting from Fani? I'm expecting fireworks. On some Floyd Mayweather shit. You know what I mean? Cause like as a ex-policy debater, like this is the closest we get to like NBA games and like the Super Bowl and that type of shit. This is damn near some NBA playoff level matchup. Trump, his cronies, the bullshit that they own. Versus Fani Willis, her team. You know what I'm saying? Black excellence. That's the matchup, man. That's the matchup on some Floyd Mayweather shit. And I'm excited to see. Where we're going. I'm excited to see where y'all going. But what are y'all expecting? Let me move this back a little bit. Oh, man. I want to go get some water, but I don't want to. I'm cool. I think they all trickling back in. We about to get started soon. But Fani Willis, man, let me go ahead and make it. I'm going to make the TikTok with y'all. I'm going to make a TikTok live. Where we at? All right. Y'all about to see a master work. We about to make a quick TikTok video. Let the people know where we at. Hey yo, Fani Willis is about to testify in this little evidence hearing. She just sat down. Y'all come join me over on YouTube at the Chop Up Show. We live. We about to hear Fani Willis testify. I should see y'all over here. All right. Let's get it in. Let me unmute this. Ooh, I'm telling you, it's about to get live. Hold on, let me go.
All right, we're back on the record. Deputy Scott.
We back. All right.
Swearing our next witness.
I would, and I do apologize. Anna, do me a favor. Tell them I'm gonna need some reading glasses. After you swear them, tell them I'm gonna need some reading. But swear, you can go ahead and swear me so I don't hold up the court.
If you swear on front to the testimony, you should be in the court. Help you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, spell your first name.
District Attorney Fani, Fani. Last name is Willis.
Ms. Willis, how did you know to come into the courtroom right then?
There were people, I was pacing in my office.
Okay.
And I heard someone yell, his testimony is done. It only made sense to me that I would be your next witness. And I've been very anxious to have this conversation with you today.
Talk to
So
him.
I ran to the courtroom.
Talk
So
to
as
him.
soon as you heard that Mr. Wade was done testifying, that's when you just assumed you would be the next witness?
It only makes sense.
Did you listen to any of the testimony?
I've been in my office pacing, ma'am.
Did you listen to the arguments?
I did hear the arguments this morning. It's ridiculous to me that you lied on Monday and yet here we still are. And I did listen to that argument.
All right, so that was it, just the argument, no testimony.
Right, I listened to the argument this morning where Adam Abadi, I thought, did an excellent job pointing out how dishonest you were with the court on Monday. And I'm actually surprised that the hearing continued, but since it did, here I am.
Great. So let's talk about.
Did y'all hear how he
about
talk?
what
How
you
she
did
talking
in
to her?
Preparation for today. Did you meet with Mr. Wade at all? Once the motion was filed, did you meet with Mr. Wade and talk to him about the motion that I filed to disqualify you?
On this first January motion,
Yes.
I don't know if you could say talked about. I probably had some choice words about some of the things that you said that were dishonest within this motion. So I don't know that it was a conversation. As you know, Mr. Wade is a Southern gentleman, me not so much.
Okay, but my question was, did you have a conversation with
I didn't
him?
have a substantive conversation.
You did not.
I read this motion, skimmed it more so, and I've probably said some choice things to him about some of the lies that were told.
Okay.
And then printed
Bro,
in the
she
media
trying to keep
because,
herself so
we used to
calm.
be in a day and time where you had 60 Minutes and people did stories and they verified information, and you had this great reporting. But it seems today that a lawyer writes a lie and then it's printed for all of the world to see.
Woo!
Well, I just
That's
wanna
like
make sure
the
that you
fifth
answer the
time she
question
called her a
asked, though.
liar.
So my question was,
Been asked and answered.
Overruled, Mr. Abadi.
I told you what happened. I read the motion. I am sure I've told him what my opinion of it is.
Okay.
And past that, we had no substantive conversation.
you did not.
Is there something you didn't understand?
No, I just want to make sure that
Okay.
you did not have a meeting with him in the conference room to discuss the
All
motion.
right, next question,
No.
Ms. Merchant.
So in the conference room of my office, within this week, you produced that financial document was given to me, something, and I'm not even sure who was giving it to him by me or Mr. Abadi gave it to me. And I think he showed me a document in our conference room. But as far as a substantive conversation, I don't believe I've had any conversation with him that is substantive related to this.
Okay.
I have had conversations with him since you filed the motion, but they wouldn't be substantive to this. He's sent me very nice sermons that have been done. And so we've had conversations about, did you listen to that sermon? You know, things of that nature. And I would say they were in relationship to this because I think he did it to be kind.
Okay. Let's start back in 2019.
Yep.
So you and Mr. Wade met in October 2019 at a conference?
that is correct.
Okay.
And I think in one of your motions, you tried to implicate I slept with him at that conference, which I find to be extremely offensive. I stayed at that conference. Mr. Wade was my teacher. I did not meet him when he taught the class.
Look how
I
she
was
talking to
standing
her.
outside talking to Lisa Reeves, who is a judge.
Tell
Me
her.
and her were just having a conversation. Mr. Wade walks up. I think they hug each other. They have some brief conversation, introduces us.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. We kind of thought that when you asked a question, you didn't answer the question, not a speech, so I object to the speech made.
I
I
agree.
believe I'm
Judge.
able to explain my answers.
I believe she's able to explain her answers.
And
That's, Ms. Merchant, that's okay. I can handle it. Ms. Willis, I'll ask you just listen to the answer, or excuse me, the question, and keep the answers confined to the question as best you can. I think you'll have more than enough ample opportunity on when the state is
Well,
able
it's
to ask
highly offensive when
follow-ups.
someone lies on you, and it's highly offensive when they try
Judge.
to implicate that you slept with somebody the first day you met with them, and I take exception to it.
All right, well, Ms. Willis, have the opportunity to explain all of that when it's the state's turn to ask more open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Ms. Merchant.
Thank you, Judge. So again, my question was, you all met
Smoke.
at that conference, though, right?
We did the
Okay.
meeting. He, as I stated, he taught the class. I did not actually meet him when he taught the class. I walked out of the class, and I'm not sure if it was that exact class or we had went to lunch, but we were standing in the vestibule, like outside of the class. Me and Judge
She giving all the
Reed were having a
details.
Conversation. She had worked at a law firm I worked at back in 1996.
We're getting way far. I mean, I don't mind her explaining her answers, but I literally just asked if they met at that conference.
Explaining how she met Mr. Wade, which was exactly the question asked by Ms. Merchant.
It was-
These answers are more than appropriate.
Ms. Merchant, if you want more concise answers, perhaps you could lead the witness.
I will. Thank you, Judge.
Look, he
Is
got to
it
give
true
her
that you met
advice.
Mr. Wade, October 2019
I'm
at
gonna,
Judges
we
Conference.
haven't gotten to the point where Ms. Willis should be treated hostile under 61.
I think we
And
have.
I'm very
Mr.
much
Roddy.
want to be here, so I'm not a hostile witness. I very much want to be here.
Not so much that you're hostile, Ms. Willis, it'd be an adverse witness. Your interests are opposed to Ms. Merchant's.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Merchant's interests are contrary to democracy, Your Honor, not to mine.
Ooh,
All right,
shit.
let's
Judge, I would
proceed.
just ask that
We
we.
can keep things moving. Ms. Merchant,
Thank-
next question,
thank you.
please.
Okay. so we
Yo,
confirmed when
she
you
is
met.
not playing.
After that, isn't it true?
No, I need to explain this, and I think I get to explain my answers. When I met him, Judge Reeves introduced us. He handed me his business card. I'm unsure if I handed him my business card, but we exchanged information. He said, if you ever need any help, give me a call. And he walked to the parking lot.
Boom.
So
That's how they met.
after You started dating shortly thereafter, correct?
It's a lie. That's one of your lies.
Do you know Robin Yurdy?
I know her as Robin Bryant. I knew her. So Robin did not go to my college. She went to the college of, I went to Howard University. She went to Morgan State. I met her through some people I knew.
I was about to say,
in
no.
college, we hung
Whoa.
out a bit. Not much because she was in Baltimore and I was in Washington, D.C. But we hung out a bit.
This is the lady I was talking
After
about
college,
earlier.
I lost contact with her. I probably didn't see Robin again until maybe 7 or 8 years ago, a chance meeting here in Atlanta, but we did not have a consistent relationship from when I left college and came to Emory Law School here in Atlanta. But 8 to 10 years ago, just by happenstance, I ran into her. And she was in Atlanta.
You have been friends with Robin for 30-something years.
Did you hear my answer, madam?
Yes, and I'm asking if you've been friends with her for
No.
30-something years.
I've known her
No.
for 30-something years. We certainly hung out and partied together in college. She was from the DC area. She would come home. We partied together. Wasn't close, but she was certainly in the girlfriends that partied together. And then
Y'all wanted
like I
the
said, I ran
information.
into her
She
about
giving it to
10
you.
years ago in Atlanta, Georgia.
So
But we didn't talk.
J
throughout
Universe
that
in the
time
building.
period. I didn't see her. I didn't even know where she was. When I ran into her, I was surprised she was in Atlanta. And so, yes, I have known her probably since 1990, 1991, but we have not maintained a consistent relationship that whole time.
for the last 10 years or 5, whatever you'd like to classify it as, have you been friends with her?
I have not spoken to Robin in over a year. I certainly do not consider her a friend now. I think that she, there's a saying, no good deed goes unpunished. And I think that she betrayed our friendship.
So
in a
let's
way I
narrow it
never
down, the
would.
timeline now. So my questions are going to be from the time period of 2019 until she no longer was employed for you, the last time you all talked. So all of my next questions are just focused on that time frame, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Up until she left your office.
Yes, ma'am.
During 2019, you all were friends, correct?
Yes, we knew each other in 2019.
During 2020, you all were friends, correct?
Yes, we were friends during that time period.
During 2021, you all were friends, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And such good friends that when you needed a place to stay, you asked her if you could take over her lease.
That's a lie.
You did
That's
not
not
move
the-
into her apartment?
I
or her
did, but
condo?
that's not the way you characterize it is wrong.
I asked if you could take over her lease.
I did not ask if I could take over her lease.
Did you move into her apartment?
I moved into her condo in April of 21, but the circumstances around that were that Robin met her husband. They wanted to move into another space. She wanted to get rid of her condo. My father was living with me at the house. Because of this case and because of my stance on gangs, my life was being threatened regularly. My father urged me to leave our home. At the same time, as luck would have it,
Tell your
Robin
story.
wanted to give up her lease because she wanted to move in with this new man she met, who eventually became her husband.
Telling
And
all
so,
her business.
As life circumstances worked, my dad was begging me to leave the house. He was afraid for me, afraid for his grandchildren.
Because of
She
this
wanted
case.
someone to take over her lease so that she didn't, have to pay a fee or get abandoned. And so I don't remember when, but probably March or April of 21, I move in and take over her lease.
And did you pay her or did you pay the leasing agent?
No, I don't even know who the leasing agent was. I paid her.
You paid her. Did you pay her cash or did you use a card?
There were some times that I would give her cash, but mostly I paid her via Cash App. That would be the most convenient thing. So I would not only give her rent, but then like when the utilities would come in, whatever the utility was, she might be like, I need $70, I need $100, whatever it was. And we never had a problem with money. Whatever she told me it was, I never asked to see a bill. I never questioned her. I just gave it to her.
What percentage you paid cash versus Cash App?
Oh, the vast majority was Cash App. I
Cash
don't
App.
know a percentage, I'm not gonna guess that, but the vast majority was Cash App. But there would be times she would say, this bill came in at $70, here goes $70.
Did you have a monthly rent amount that you paid her?
Like this, they just asked some
I
of the
can't
most
remember. It was
asinine
$1,400,
questions.
$1,500. I can't
They're just
remember what it was.
asking
And it would
questions.
vary, which I don't understand to this day. But like I said, I never questioned her.
When did you
Whatever
move
she
out?
said it was, that's what I paid.
When did
I
you move out?
abruptly moved out in February, either late January or early February of 22.
Of 22.
Yes,
February
ma'am.
2022, is that what you said?
January, February of
Jan-
22. I believe it is January, but I paid her half the rent of February of 22 is what I remember. And because I was offering to pay the whole rent, even though I didn't live there, I didn't think it was right. And I ended up just paying her half the rent.
So that's after you moved out. You
Yes,
said you paid her
ma'am.
half of that. Okay. And the time that you said you had to move out of your house because you were scared, did your dad stay there at your house?
My father was concerned. Yes, we were both concerned.
Okay. But he remained there.
My father's 80 years old. He would have been 79. He was scared to death of COVID. You have to go back to when this was. My father's an old man. I wanted him to move out. We had some discussions about him moving out, and what he decided was the risk of COVID was more dangerous than the risk of the people that were threatening.
She on top of
Typical
it.
man, more worried about his daughter and his grandchildren than his own safety. You'll get to
It's a lot
meet
of
him,
gender
and
politics
you'll
that they throw it
understand
out
he
here, but it
doesn't
is
scare
what it
you easily.
is.
So your his grandkids were living at the house as well at that time?
Well, I don't know how old your children are, but when you have adult children, they leave and they come back. They leave and they come back. So there have been periods of time that they're there, they come, they do whatever they want to do. Children do what children do. As long as their mother has a house, they'll come to it. Unfortunately, now the threats because of this case have gotten so extreme. I just pay a mortgage and no one lives there.
And that's what I was going to ask you. So when you moved out in, I think you said April 2021,
Moo Moo
you
was
left your dad
cracking.
and your two kids at the house?
My dad,
Regular
my sisters
Joe
were
was
not at the
cracking.
house,
They were
ma'am.
not. Okay, so they didn't still live at your house.
My youngest daughter certainly did not live there.
Okay.
My oldest daughter would come back and forth. I can't say month for month when she was there or when she was not there. I know that she has been there post me moving out.
This is why the judge was
time, no
like,
one
"Yo,
was at my
what else are y'all trying to do?
So at
Because
some
like, y'all,
point
all y'all
after you
doing is
moved out
asking
for
questions,
the safety
but y'all not
reasons,
moving this
you'll-
case
at
anywhere.
least one
Y'all
of
not
your
moving
children
y'all
did
position
come back.
Merchant, can we
anywhere.
get to either the relationship or the
Sure.
financial
Yes.
benefit?
Thank you. Thank me. The judge is like
So,
this.
let's see, we were back at
Asking them dumbass questions
2021.
about
So
rent
you were
and
still
shit.
friends with Miss Yeardy then.
The judge
Were
is
you also
tired of
friends with
this.
Mr. Bradley.
I've never been friends with Mr. Bradley.
You've never been friends with Mr. Bradley?
No, I don't consider us to be friends. I don't dislike Mr. Bradley, but I don't consider us to be friends.
Is he someone that you would have in your phone and you would message with?
I might have text messaged him.
Okay. Would you text message him and Mr. Wade on the same conversations?
I don't recall doing that, but if it happened, it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, so that wouldn't surprise you, the three of you. Okay. How frequently would you think that the three of you would have texted?
Not
in a group
very.
chat?
I wouldn't think very often, but you're asking.
Okay, this is more of a whole bunch of like dumbass questioning. What I think they doing is they're just asking a bunch of questions to try to find something to bring up later. Like, this is really a fishing expedition. They don't have anything solid, so all they can do is ask these questions to try to see if they could catch them up on something. That's all that's happening right now. Because, I mean, anybody listening, there's nothing that y'all could point out to be like, oh, this is where they got them. Like,
Perhaps.
they're going to try to subpoena phone records based on this testimony. That's what they're going to try to do.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
go
When
ahead.
you went on vacation with Mr. Wade,
Here we go.
let's just go one by one.
Don't be scared.
Let's
Ask
start with
her.
the first one. What's the first time you went on vacation with Mr.
Don't
Wade?
run. First time y'all went on vacation.
I think the first time we went on vacation was around April of 22, and it's a vacation is a stretch, but I'm trying to be comprehensive. I recall April of 22. His birthday is March the 18th. So that would have been his 49th birthday. I took him to like Tennessee for the day. I think we went to a museum. I think we might have stayed the night. I'm not sure, but
I know she ain't gonna ask her
Tennessee's
about
kinda
them
hard to
intercourse
call a
questions.
vacation, but I just am trying to be inclusive. And like I said, I know it wasn't more than a day.
So you didn't spend the night.
I think that we did. That's what I'm telling you. I think that there's a possibility that we stayed that night.
Y'all hit that like button. Hit that
April of
like button.
22.
Who paid for the hotel?
I think I did. It was his birthday.
And would you have used a credit card?
Probably maybe a debit card.
A debit card?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what town you stayed in?
No, I don't remember.
And when did you start dating?
When I started dating Mr. Wade, it was right around then. That
April 2022?
22. Yes, it
2022.
was around then. I don't know, like, it's not like when you're in grade school and you send a little letter and it says, "Will you be my girlfriend?" and you check it.
Now
I
she
don't
cooking.
know the day that we started seeing
Official.
each other, but it was early 22 is my recollection.
Okay, early 22. And you all went to Florida on vacation as well?
I don't recall going to Florida on vacation with him.
You never went to Florida with Mr. Wade?
When we went to get on the cruise ship, we went to Miami.
Okay, that's the only time that you went to Florida with him?
I think we went to Miami and spent the night. That's my recollection.
Okay.
I think we spent one night. That's my recollection of our
Paid
vacation.
for that hotel?
In Miami? I don't remember that.
And how'd you get to Miami?
We would have flown.
Okay.
And we've done that, so that I'm clear. We've done that twice. I think one time we stayed, and I honestly can't tell you, did we stay when the ship left or did we stay when the ship came back? I also can't tell you, so there's 2 cruises out of Miami. There's one that's in that October time period that was with his mom. And then there was another that was a New Year's Eve trip. I know I paid for the New Year's Eve trip because the tickets were $697 each. And I thought this is ridiculous that the tickets are $700 to go to Miami. But when you travel during New Year's Eve, they get you.
So let's just back up and talk about the first time that you went to Florida with Mr. Wade. That was the time that you said you stayed in Miami at the hotel the first night?
That's the time I told you.
Yeah, she just
I am
keep
not
asking
sure.
the same
So I'm not sure of
questions.
2
like,
things. So I want to make sure that my testimony is clear.
She
I'm not sure if we
gives her
stayed
a
in
response
Miami
and then she just
On
asks.
the
us
October trip
the same
I'm not
question.
sure if we stayed in Miami on the December trip. I just can't remember that. And I also don't remember, so that the record is clear, I don't remember if the necessity was as we got on the ship or we got off the ship. But I do remember there was a night spent in Miami, or whatever. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I think that there was a night spent in Miami.
That cruise is the one that you took in October, right?
Ma'am, if you have something to refresh my recollection, I'm intentionally trying to not be difficult with you, but I don't want to make up something.
Right.
I know that on one of those 2 trips, we stayed in Miami. I am not sure right now. You're asking me about.
Oh, I'm sorry, you misunderstood. I was not asking you which night you stayed in Miami. I'm asking if you took a cruise in October 2022 with Mr. Wake
Yes, and his mom.
and his mother. That's what I was asking.
Yes,
Is that the first time you met his mother?
yes.
It was on that cruise, and that was Royal Caribbean, I believe?
I honestly don't remember what ship. I know we've taken 2 cruises. I don't know what the ships were.
But he paid for the flight and the cruise on Royal Caribbean that time.
So yes, he paid. He is the original one that does it. He has something called, Mr. Wade is a world traveler. I'm not as versed as him. He's been to 6 of the 7 continents. And so he has both a personal travel agent and he also has a cruise travel agent. I don't know anything about either of those kind of travel agents. So he is the one that would book the travel. Need to be clear when we're talking about just because he booked it doesn't mean, like, I don't consider him having taken me any place. Let me just be honest. The only one that's ever taken somebody someplace is for his 50th birthday. I consider that I took him to Belize. And
Now
I
she
took
flexing.
him to Belize because, I don't want to discuss his personal business, but I'm happy Mr. Wade is still here with us. And I did 50 big, very big.
She did it big.
Still on that October Royal Caribbean cruise, even though he had a
Ma'am.
travel agent. I'm sorry? What'd you say?
If you do me a favor, I don't know what cruise ship, what time. So if you'll help me and say October cruise with mama or the New Year's Eve trip with his sisters, I'll be able to, we can
problem.
communicate. I just don't know what ship.
October cruise with Mama. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
He paid for the cruise and the flights for that trip.
So he called his cruise agent and he booked that through them because he has a cruise agent.
Right.
They
He
trying to
also has
force
a
it.
regular,
It's not their
agent.
people.
I don't know the cruise agent.
Go ahead and ask
I
about
wasn't
him,
asking
her
about his
payment
travel
back.
agent. I was just
Well,
asking
but
if
I'm
he
trying to-
paid for those.
He did not though,
Okay.
because the reason I consider that he did not is I gave him his money back.
And I was
So
about to
I-
ask that, but initially he paid for them.
Yeah, he called his cruise agent. Like, I think they have his card on record. They do whatever.
Okay. So initially he paid for the cruise and the flight to Miami and the Royal Caribbean cruise.
And my understanding of that October cruise is like it was a package the lady did for him.
And I'll get to the reimbursements and all that. I'm just trying to confirm he paid for the flight and the cruise in October.
And I think that
Yes.
when you say things that way, I want this record to be
Initially.
abundantly clear that he calls his travel agent, he calls his cruise agent. They do whatever he tells them. He's like on a first name basis with these people. They do it, and then he tells me
Hey,
how
she
much
fucks
it
with
is,
Nathan Wade.
and I give him
She
the money
fucks
back.
with him.
I don't, just like you're asking me about the money with Robin, I don't do my friends like that. So if you tell me it's a G, then you're gonna get $1,000. Whatever it is, I didn't ever make him produce receipts to me. Whatever he told me it was, I gave him his money back.
Isn't it true that he paid for the cruise and the flight on his credit card? I'm not asking about reimbursement or after. He used his credit card to buy the cruise and buy the flight, correct?
It's been
I have no idea
established.
how he paid for it,
Okay.
if it's a credit card, if it's a debit card, but certainly he called his cruise agent. You know, like how many people have a cruise agent? He calls his cruise agent, tells them where they want to go, what's booked. And you have to remember, he paid for, that initial was me, him, and his mother.
And then after that cruise, you all flew to Aruba and spent a couple days in a hotel there, correct?
Right, and his mother was not happy
He
that we left her
initially
behind.
paid for that. He initially paid for that.
For Aruba, yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about both of those. I know he initially paid for it. Did you pay him back?
For the cruise and for Aruba, yeah, I gave him his money before we ever went on that trip.
You gave him cash before you ever went on the trip?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you got cash to pay him back on these trips, would you go to the ATM?
No, lady.
You would not go to the ATM.
No.
Okay. So Fulton County pays you direct deposit, I assume?
Yes, Fulton County and the state of Georgia both pay me direct
Yo,
deposits.
Q, what's
Okay.
good with it?
So the cash that you would pay him, you wouldn't get it out of the bank.
I have money in my house.
You have money in your house. So it was just money that was there.
When you meet my father, he's gonna tell you as a woman, you should always have, which I don't have, so let's don't tell him that. You should have at least 6 months in cash at your house at all times. Now, I don't know why this old black
It's
man
like
feels
like
that,
she taught, like
but
she
he
teaching
does.
her.
When we were growing up, my daddy had 3 safes in the house. So my father's bought me a lockbox, and I keep cash in the house. Now, I don't
Hey,
do it
Miss
to the
Ma'am,
degree that my
they
father
scared
would
to
do,
object.
so
They
he'd
like
probably
Fani,
be,
like let me talk.
ashamed of me, but I always have cash at the house. That has been, I don't know, all my life. If you're a woman and you can go where you want to go. So I keep cash in my house, and I don't keep cash as good in my purse like I used to, because I don't go on many dates. But when you go on a date, you should have cash in your pocket.
So my question was, where did that cash originally come from? If
I've
it
had
didn't,
cash.
I asked the
Cash is,
answer.
fungible.
I
Had
asked the
cash
answer.
for years in my house.
I
So
asked
for
the
me to tell
answer.
you the source of when it comes from, when you go to Publix and you buy something, you get $50, you throw it in there. When it's been my whole life. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you, I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today as I would normally have, but I'm building back up now. So you just put money in. It's a very good practice. I would advise it to all women.
so you can't identify when you came into this cash or where the cash came from.
I didn't say I couldn't identify it. No, nobody gives me anything. I am sure that the source of the money is always the work, sweat, and tears of me. What you asked me
She not
for
playing with
is,
her.
when did the money go in there? What I am trying to tell you is, so I got divorced in 2005 from my husband.
And
No, it's important. You said, where did the money come from?
Where
And I
the
need to
farm.
tell you where the money came from.
She's
And so
answering your
for
question,
many,
sir.
many years, I have kept money in my house.
Selena, I was
That
thinking the
money,
same
my worst days,
thing.
has
Like,
probably
yo,
only been
don't get this woman
$500,000.
robbed.
At my best days, I probably had $15,000 in my house at cash. At all times, there's going to be cash in my house or wherever I'm laying my head.
the money that you paid Mr. Wade, the cash in October of 2022, you do not know where that money came from.
I
Came
do know
from-
where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
It's her
You know
money.
which job it came from. Did it come from Fulton County or did it come from a private
It
job?
came from, I'm not a, what are you talking about? So it could have come from a private job because before I was DA, I was in private practice. So I earned money during that time period. That's probably in there.
You don't
It
know where
could
it came
have,
from.
what do you mean? I don't know where it came from. I
I think I
absolutely.
understand the situation. We can move on.
Okay, thanks. Same with Aruba. You don't know where that
The
cash
judge is not feeling this. I'm
Ma'am,
telling
you are
you.
mischaracterizing my testimony greatly. I'm not going to allow you to mischaracterize my testimony. I know that I keep money in my house. The amounts of money I gave Mr. Wade, it was never that serious. I don't think I've ever handed him more than $2,500 in a reimbursement. So we're not talking about $20,000 in cash. I don't have $20,000 in cash right now. The most I ever gave him, I know I gave him $2,500 when we went to Belize because we went to one hotel and then we went to a second hotel. That $2,500 I actually gave him while we were still in Belize. I know that the Aruba trip, the one that you described with his mom, I think I gave him about $2,000 for that trip for like total.
His mom went to Aruba with you?
The Aruba trip. So I consider that to be one trip. So we got off of a cruise ship and then we went to Aruba, which is why I cannot remember is that the time that we had to stay in Miami to wait for the flight for Aruba.
Well, I'm telling you, like,
So I consider that one trip, but we didn't like come back to Atlanta and leave. We flew down to Miami. We got
Trump
on a-
attorneys
we
just
spent a couple of
don't
days with the
have
governor.
it, man.
We
I'm
came
telling
back
you,
to
they
Miami.
don't have
We
it.
came back to Miami either that day or the next day. We flew to Aruba. We spent a few days in Aruba and we came back. That was really one trip.
She is completely dominating this testimony. This attorney
so
is
let's
just
talk
being
about
completely
California trip.
punked.
Napa.
Is that when you were moving your daughter out to California? When you all went, or did you have 2 trips to California?
My daughter doesn't live in California.
Did she ever live in California?
I'm not discussing to you the location of my child.
So how many times did you go with Mr. Wade to California?
Once.
Talk to her.
And you all stayed in Napa Valley and he paid for the plane tickets and the hotel?
He paid for the plane tickets and the hotel.
And what did you pay for on that trip?
I gave him much less cash that time, probably $400 or $500, and then I paid for a bunch of stuff. I think we did 2 different wine tours that
Yeah.
you do, which are pretty expensive. I think I bought him. he
No
likes
sweat
wine. I
on
don't
her
really like wine,
brow.
To be honest with you, I like Grey Goose. I bought him a bottle of wine while we were there. And the
Talk
trippings
to
that
him,
you do,
Fani.
I can't remember how many, like 4 or 5 different places you go.
She
I
said she
remember we
like
went
Goose.
to this place that they do pairings. That was the most expensive thing that I think that we did while we were there.
Melodious
They would
rambling in the
pair,
building. What's good with
They,
you?
they would pair champagne, chocolate, and caviar. It was a 3, and it was like 3 different things: Sweden, Russia, someplace else. I'll make that up. But
Y'all see,
that
she
was the
has
most
nothing to
expensive thing we did
press
that
her
trip, and
on.
I paid for that.
You pay cash?
She don't have nothing to press her on. All she can do is just ask her questions, inquiries. That's it. That's it. None of this is actually proving what she's like, you know what I'm saying? Like this whole thing that she benefited from him.
The cash that you keep in your house, or do you keep it at the condo that you were living in?
So at that point, it wouldn't be at my house, and I'm sorry if I was not clear. The money would be wherever I laid my head. So I wouldn't.
Hey, appreciate the super chat, made premium. Appreciate
So
that.
if I was unclear, no.
Cause she definitely
Money's gonna be
cooking.
where I stay.
How much did you pay for your trip to Panama?
To where?
Panama, I believe.
I didn't go to Panama.
I may have the location wrong.
I never went to Panama.
She fucking up.
Wade went to Panama with his frat brother.
Oh, he went to Panama with his frat brothers. So tell me about, let's see. So I want to make sure I've got them. I've got Belize. You already covered Belize. You covered the.
So let me tell you our real trips. In October,
Look, just take control. Show them they've been running their
his
mouth.
mom. We got back from the cruise with his mom, and we went to Aruba. I consider that one trip. Second
Okay,
trip.
we got
New
the
Year's
Aruba
Eve,
trip.
We went on a cruise to the Bahamas.
New Year's Eve, we went to Bahamas.
I want to make sure I get this right. Third trip, 100% on me. I think he might have spent $200 on that entire trip. We went to Belize. That was my trip. That was
Took him to
his
Belize.
50th. And then Napa Valley, we went around May.
That 4?
I don't know the dates, but it seems to me like it was close to Mother's Day.
Since y'all wanna know.
And those
Since
were-
y'all wanna know.
So that the record is complete. I can remember one time driving to, where were we? South Carolina, and we met my sister for lunch with her man.
When
we
was
didn't
that?
stay I don't know, but we didn't stay the night there. But I guess people would consider that a trip if you drive somewhere and you come back. That was insane because it was like 5 hours to drive. We ate lunch and we drove right back. I can remember driving to some little town in Georgia. I don't even know where I was.
Hey, this
I've
judge
never
is
been there before.
exhausted with
There's
this.
some boat you can get on over to.
This
the
judge
like
is
a slave
exhausted
thing,
with
if that gives
this.
Anyone any reference? We didn't do that. I remember doing that. I remember driving one time to Charlotte. We had lunch with one of my very close girlfriends. And again, we drove to Charlotte, met my girlfriend for lunch, and drove right back. So that's a trip. We didn't stay the night there, but I just want to be complete in my testimony. We drove.
You don't
someplace,
fuck around
had
with the
lunch,
DA.
Drove back. I don't remember another driving someplace distant for lunch and coming back to Charlotte to see a girlfriend, to meet my sister in South Carolina. We went by ourselves when I told you about that remote place in Georgia. We could have driven someplace else and had lunch and came back, but that's all that comes to my recollection right now.
Because-
It could have been another place we drove and had lunch. My security
Even-
team was very clear to me. I'm not to be out and about in Atlanta without them. And so for me to do something just very normal that a normal person would get to do if they weren't prosecuting this case, I got to drive 4 hours to do it.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Your security detail, did they take you to and from your house?
They take.
What is she
so I haven't
asking,
been able
yo?
to enjoy my home.
They really
Like in
scared.
March of
Where you lay your
20
head? Did they take you to and from where you
They
lay?
really scared to
99.
object. They like, let Fani talk because she
Would they
wants
take
to
Mr.
say
Wade
this.
To and from wherever you laid your head.
That has never in the history of ever happened, ever, okay?
Your security team has never taken him?
From my house, that's a lie.
I'm
That's
asking
another,
if they've ever taken him anywhere.
and I'm telling you that that's never happened.
So your security team has never taken
My
Mr. Wade anywhere?
security team has
Tell
never
her.
taken Mr. Wade from any place where I have lived and brought him here. Never, not once, not
They,
ever.
if
Have you
if
ever taken the two of you together?
To where?
Anywhere.
But we've left this building and for gone to lunch, but I go to lunch so rarely that that is a very rare occasion. I am sure, and let me be clear, it wouldn't just be Mr. Wade. So I'm sure my security team has taken me to lunch. Probably been a time I've left here 7 o'clock, gone to get something to eat. And I don't even know that they would have taken him or if he would have driven himself, but they've taken me to do that. But we're talking very few, very far in between. Most days I don't even eat lunch, and when I do, it's because my assistant.
never in the
heated up
history
some
of
bad something,
ever,
and I eat in my
ever.
office. It's not a practice of mine to go to lunch.
During the time period that you were dating, would your security team ever take you two together anywhere?
No.
Never.
If there was a lunch that occurred that I just described, if there was a meal that occurred that I just described, anything outside of that, and it needs to be very clear. Not often. Once, twice, because I want to be over-inclusive, I'm saying once or twice. I'm not certain that it happened, but I'd rather be over-inclusive with you.
So your office objected to us getting Delta records for flights that you may have taken with Mr. Wade.
And, well, no, look.
I told
I
y'all.
object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're
I told y'all they
confused. I'm on
scared
trial.
because she gonna
These people
check
are
they
on trial for
ass.
trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
So
Talk to
my
her.
question was, do you have any
I
problem?
object to getting any personal records of mine.
We're not dealing with privilege through a witness.
And I'm not, no,
Objection
I'm
to
not dealing with
suspension.
privilege. What we had offered to put them in camera for the court to review, and I just want to know if she has any
That's not
problem.
something you deal with a witness.
I told y'all she this is lightweight. Look at Fani.
You have to file.
She a lightweight.
Called an income and financial disclosure report, correct?
That's correct.
And you filed your first one, so you filed 2 to date. Is that right?
Is it 2 or 3? I probably would have filed 21, 22, and maybe I haven't filed 23 yet, because isn't it due like June of the next year?
April, I believe. So you filed. Let's see. You filed your first one. It looks like April 15th, 2022.
Somebody tell me where we getting any closer to proving
April 17th,
that she was
2022.
defrauding the
Does that
state.
sound familiar?
I don't.
Have we
remember the
moved
dates,
any
but
closer
you're
to
a court reporter. I
understanding
hope you're telling the truth now.
what,
May I approach the witness?
like, making the argument?
you.
Like, I know the judge got to be sitting back there thinking like, yo, this is what the fuck are they on?
They're part of the certified records.
Can somebody bring me some? Yeah. These eyes are getting a little old.
And I'm loving the shot she taking. Like I mean nothing but jabs.
Okay.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
those are the ones that you filed.
This looks like me for sure. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Judge, we'd move to admit 20 and 21.
I think you need to delineate which one's which
20
one's which.
is 2021, so it accounts for the time period, Your Honor, January the 1st, 21 through December the 31st, 2021. That is Defendant's Exhibit 20. Defendant's Exhibit 2021, it accounts for the time period, January the 1st, 2022 through December the 1st of 2022.
All right. Any objection to exhibits 20 and 21?
Nope.
See, this is like a Super
From
Bowl.
other counsel. Admitted without.
This is like a Super Bowl where you like think it's gonna be a good one, and then it's like the other opponent is just not prepared enough to make it a game.
This year? So let's be very clear so that we don't mix words. I don't want to mix words in here. Mr. Wade is my friend right now. Mr. Wade, I would say, has been my friend since 2020. I think he started out as like a mentor and a professional colleague. He became my friend and somebody that I really respected. I feel very indebted to Mr. Wade for taking on the task of this job. And he is certainly my
And working
friend
for
one of the
free.
people that I respect the most. So if you ask about a personal relationship, I consider myself to have a personal relationship right now, Mr. Wade. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Anna Cross. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Mr. Abadi. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Andrew Evans.
Okay, let me just clarify that
I
before we
have
go.
a personal relationship with him as we speak right now.
A romantic
I don't think
relation-
that's what you're asking. I think that's what
Romantic
you're asking.
relationship. When did your romantic relationship with Mr. Wade
Like
end?
she just bullying
Did it end?
her.
me and Mr. Wade,
She's like, yeah, I'm done with that shit.
we are good
She's like, I'm done with
friends.
that shit.
My respect for him has grown over these 7 weeks of attacks. We are very good friends. I think, but for these attacks, it would have been a friendship that, as life goes, you would have stopped having. I think that you have cemented that we'll be friends to the day we die.
That, let's,
We just have an answer to the question.
I can handle it, Mr. Seda. Let's have
She
it.
asked about a personal
She
relationship.
asked when the romantic relationship ended. That's the question.
It's sometime in, I'd say late summer of 2023. So I don't believe me and, what this, what you're really asking about, this is the salaciousness of all of this, right?
No, I'm
Yeah.
just asking about your romantic relationship when you started
Yes,
dating.
which is salacious.
I-
It's irrelevant in
I
any
think
other
that me and Mr.
context.
Wade- So he's a man. He probably would say June or July.
He did. That's exactly
I
what he
would say
said
we
too.
had a tough conversation in August.
2023.
So
Get
that
there.
men
You
in
have it.
relationships at the end of physical intimacy, women in relationships when that tough conversation takes place.
Oh,
And
yo,
where,
she's,
when-
hey, she is
Did he
not
come
what
to,
you
I
play
guess, the
with.
condo, I'm not sure what you called it, condo apartment. Would he come and stay at that condo or visit you there?
Cause she cooking
Visit you
niggas.
there?
How she cooking
What
that nigga
condo,
on the
what apartment? I
while
wanna
she
be clear.
So not your
testifying?
house. I know you classified one as house and one as condo, so I'm trying to use those terms.
So, but there's been more, I don't understand is because of this case, I gotta move. And so I
Ms.
need
Merchant, if you
to,
could ask a more precise
yes,
question.
please, give me the time period that we're
Mr.
talking
Wade
about.
visits you at the place you laid your head.
When?
Has he ever visited you at the place you laid your head?
So let's be clear, because you lied in this, let me tell you which one you lied in, right here. I think you lied right here. No, this is the truth.
Judge,
And
this
it
is-
it is a lie. It
We're
is
gonna-
a
all
lie.
right, Ms. Willis.
You said,
Mr. Seda, thank you. We're going to take 5 minutes. Be back in 5.
All right, we taking a break. 5-minute break. The judge, look, she on there smiling. She on there smiling. Hey, I'm telling you, I don't think she's doing well. Let me know. What do y'all think? I do not think she's doing well. Ashley Merchant is getting her ass kicked. She's not asking any questions that's establishing any of her arguments or positions. She's asking the same questions she asked Nathan Wade, and they're literally in alignment. Her attempt to try to create any discrepancies between their testimony is failing. It's failing. She's doing a terrible job. They already calling her Alina Habba 2.0. Come on now. I mean, and I'm sorry, y'all. This should be more exciting. This should be more exciting. The reason why it's not is because she's not asking the right questions. Like this is being drawn out not by Fani Willis's testimony, but by the way that she actually even setting up the questions. You know what I'm saying? This that's just the lady from Midas Touch. Shout out to them. That's where we getting this stream from. But yeah, she's doing a terrible job. She's doing a terrible job. Like, I mean, listen, and I'm listening with the most objective stance. Like, cause I'm going into this thinking like, okay, one, people lie. I'm standing behind Fani, but I'm just trying to hear the facts. I'm trying to hear the truth. If you have evidence that contradicts the shit that they saying, like for example, they put in the affidavit that that the relationship started after the Rico indictment, right? All of that happened after. The only evidence that's been presented to contradict that position was the hating ass homegirl. That's the only, and then she ain't even really brought her up. She ain't said nothing about, hey, well, your homegirl said this. So what she ain't even brought that up, right? So even though she told the judge that the reason why Fani needed to testify was so that she could actually ask her questions about the discrepancies between her and her homegirl, ain't even been asked about it. She's asking, well, where did you live here? When did you leave? These again, this is a fishing expedition. They asking these questions to try to find some shit. That's what makes this whole shit ridiculous. Only the real issue with all this is only white people able to get away with shit like this. This is only a problem when it's not white folk. You know how you got whole cases and trials that go down where everybody fucking everybody. Or at some point, everybody then fucked everybody. None of that shit ever get brought up. In Fani Willis's filing that she did last week, she explained thoroughly 2 legal precedents that breaks down very plainly that the relationships between attorneys is not expected to intervene with how they do their job. All right. Are they back? Are we back? All right, we wait till the attorneys sit down and get back. But she's Fani cooking though. Fani cooking. She controlling the pace. But at the same time, like she's not making it difficult for her to do that either. So let's get back to it. That was a quick 5 minutes. Ms. Ma'am said it's exciting to see a black woman speak and powerfully clear the record in a space where white women tears can't shut it down. Oh yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about watching black women work. Ain't no tears. This she all claws. She all hands. You know how many times she called her a liar? Unimpeded. Come on now. Yeah, we about 2 hours in. We probably give it another hour. See what we could get through in another hour. But I had time today. I set aside time today. This is exactly I wanted it to not actually go down because I don't think it's fair. Without all these questions about her sex life and all of it, and I appreciate her candidness, right? Like even her explaining what like he would say June whatever, and she was right. That was the funny thing about it. She was like, to her, it wasn't really over until after, until they had the hard conversation. But she said she had already stopped giving it up. So for him, when she stopped giving it up, that's when it was like, damn, we done then, huh? I love black people. Oh, even when they try to persecute us, man, I love black people. Because even when they trying to tear us down, we flex. Trump is not getting away from this Rico. These people have embarrassed themselves. They better take another L. I'm telling you, only dub Donald Trump about to get, it's probably going to be the Supreme Court going to keep him on the ballot. Which is really, I don't think that's as big as a power. Okay, all right, we back. We'll talk about that other shit maybe tomorrow when Toya join me. But today we watching this Fani Willis, Ashley Merchant ass whooping.
Good? Miss Taylor, you good? All right.
Thank you.
We're back on the record. Before we proceed, though, I advise everyone here, this being a room mostly full of lawyers who have spent their lives in out of a courtroom. We all know what professionalism looks like, what decorum looks like, and devoting ourselves to the rule of law and proper advocacy. I would urge everyone to keep those principles in mind, starting with the fact that we won't talk over each other. And from there, we'll get through this.
Hey, this is a patient ass judge. A patient,
How
calm
often did
as
Mr. Wade
judge.
visit you at a place where you were living between 2019 and 2021?
So you want to start with the lie that he lived with me in South Fulton in 2019, a home he's never been to? That's one lie you told in your
Judge,
document.
I-
No.
Judge, I didn't ask her about that.
Ms. Merchant, I want you to ask a very precise question. I think she's saying and answering that he did not live with her. So why don't we break that up into smaller
Ever.
parts?
I didn't ask about living.
But you put in your, while we're talking about professionalism, while we're talking about professionalism, she put in 3 different documents
Well,
he
she'll
lived
have
with me.
full opportunity to respond.
In
Come on,
2019,
Fani, you gonna get your chance.
2019.
You gonna get your chance.
He's never been to South Fulton. In 2019, I lived in South Fulton. He has never been to my residence in 2019, ever, not once.
In
2020?
2019, he's never been to your residence.
Come on
Anyways.
now. Come on now.
I lived in my home in South Fulton before I started getting the threats that were here, a house I paid for with my own sweat and tears. I'm no longer able to live there. But in 2019, I did. And in the 2 months of 2019 that I knew Mr. Wade, 3 months, the beginning of October, all of November, and all of December, Mr. Wade never came to my house in South Fulton. Let me help you out. I lived there in 2020. He never came to my house in 2020, let alone live with me, as you put falsely in these documents. In the first 3 months of 2021, when I could still enjoy my home, Mr. Wade never came to South Fulton, and it is certainly a lie that he lived with me.
She gonna repeat that.
So
She gonna.
in 2020, so you said 2019, 2020. Did Mr. Wade ever visit you at a place that you
He
resided?
has never been to my home in South Fulton. 2020 was before I knew that a phone call was going to be made and I was going to have to abandon my home. As a result thereof, he never visited, lived at, came to, or has seen.
I love the
South.
enunciation.
Qualified that with your home in South Fulton.
That's where I
asking,
lived in 2020.
20, did he ever visit you at a place that you resided?
Okay. I don't understand. You're going to have to give me guidance. In 2020, I
she's-
lived in South Fulton.
Okay.
That's the only place I lived in South Fulton. That's before I had to abandon my home, Judge.
All right.
And at my
Well,
home
I
in
think we're gonna
South
clarify
Fulton,
this. We'll break it down.
he never came there, okay? So if you
Ms.
don't come
Willis.
someplace, you can't live there.
Ms. Willis, I'm gonna have to caution you. This is gonna be the first time I have to caution you. We have to listen to the questions as asked. And if this happens again and again, I'm gonna have no choice but to strike your testimony. So we need to break this down. Ms. Merchant's question, I believe, was asking whether you lived anywhere other than South Fulton.
Nah, he trying to help her now because that's never what she asked.
I did not live anywhere but South Fulton, Georgia in 2020. That is before I began my prosecution of this case, and it was my plan to only live there.
Because, you know, it's only
Mr.
so
Wade
much the
ever
judge is
visit
going to be
you
like,
at
all
the
right.
condo that you leased from Miss Yurdi?
He visited that condo, yes.
He did.
Yes.
Where is
Did
this
he ever
going?
spend the night at that condo?
No.
Just visited.
Yeah, but he did visit for sure.
Did you ever go out to eat together, other than the lunches you talked about,
In
during
2020?
2019 or 2020?
I would think that we probably went to lunch, but it wouldn't have been, let me think, 2019. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say we probably broke bread someplace in 2019. I don't remember it, but it seems like we would have broke bread sometime in 2019. So I'm going to say yes, although I have no recollection. But it seems to me like I go out to eat and drink with pretty much everyone. So I'm going to say yes.
So outside of the vacations that we've already talked about, did you ever go out to dinner with Mr. Wade?
I mentioned to you that
I'm gonna object as to what time period. Like, we're asking very vague questions. I thought we were treating the witness as hostile under 611. We're no longer doing that. So we're gonna go back and forth. We need to be more specific with our questions if we're gonna treat her as hostile.
All right, Ms. Merchant, it's not so much. I think you can elect between leading and open to questions, but I think we are still wondering. And I think we need to get back on track of focusing on the financial benefit or the relationship.
And my next question about if
Bro,
you did
she
go
is
out to
looking
dinner,
bad,
who paid
y'all.
when you went out to dinner?
he paid, I paid.
You both paid.
Okay, so let me be real clear. We didn't say, oh, the bill is $102. You give $51, I'll give $51. I don't operate like that with my girlfriends. I don't operate like that with anyone. He caught the bill, I caught the bill, whomever.
Did you ever pay him through Cash App?
No.
You only ever paid him through cash?
Well, yes, but we're talking about, very confused
You've
now.
never
Like,
given Mr. Wade money through Cash App.
no,
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute, but I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened, no, we're gonna answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did.
Yo,
So
she's not
don't be
letting
cute with me
up, bro.
and then think that you're not gonna get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract in a minute. I asked you about cash. Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So you've
If
never
we
used a
would go to
credit card.
dinner,
Let her finish her answer. Ms.
if we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
Okay.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money I've handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
You never wrote him a check?
Ma'am, I don't have checks.
Okay. So you have no proof of any reimbursement for any of these things because it was all cash, right?
The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact.
So my
Are you
question was,
telling
do
me
you
that
have
I'm
any
lying to you?
proof?
Is that what you're intimating right here?
I'm asking if you have any proof that you paid him any of these
The proof
monies.
is what I just told you.
You have no written proof. Is that correct?
So I have some, probably some transactions like in Belize. I probably spent $500 on my card in Belize. I spent 800, I can't remember, $900 on each of our tickets to go to Belize. I did the $700. I probably got some minor expenses in Aruba that would be on a card. But for the most part, for those trips, other than, so the 2 cruises, I gave him money for those before we ever left, because they were pre-booked. Let me answer.
Well, the question was if you had any written proof. And so
I've answered you that I've had written
we
proof
can move
for
to the next question. If you've answered if we had any written proof, and that was my question.
I want to
like-
make sure that we're clear.
Because it's like
for
this
the 2
plus proof.
cruises
Don't nobody
that
do
I
IOU.
plus Aruba,
We're not going to talk over each other. Ms. Merchant, she answered your question, so we can ask the next question. Ms. Willis and Ms. Cross will have plenty of opportunities to let you clarify your answers when it's her turn.
Thank you, Judge. Knowing your role as district attorney, you know that public funds are scrutinized and money is scrutinized and things like that. You
and
understand.
I've never, I'm sorry, go
You
ahead.
understand you're under a microscope. You have reporting requirements, all of those types of things. You have no record other than your testimony of the money that you've given Mr. Wade.
You've
Why
already
would
asked
you-
that question. Let's keep going.
When you took office, you
I
had
told
a
y'all,
tax
he
lien of
keep having to check her
$4,600.
'cause she
Did you
don't know
pay
what
that
she
with cash
doing.
when you made that tax lien whole?
I probably paid through, however you pay.
Okay. So, but you were saying that you had amounts of cash. You still had that lien in 2022 when you were dating Wade and going on these trips. So the cash that you gave him, that could have been used to pay this tax lien off?
You gonna tell me how to pay my bills?
I object. It's not relevant as it relates to why we're here today.
Ms. Merchant, are you trying to establish that she was insolvent in some way?
I definitely was trying to establish that she did not have these mass amounts of cash that she's talking about. Yes.
All right. Re-ask the question.
He
You had a tax
sounds
lien in
fed up.
2022,
He sounds fed up.
$4,600.
If you say I did,
And you did not use this cash that you had to reimburse Mr. Wade to pay that off, correct?
no.
Okay.
I went shopping too when I didn't pay it off.
And you talked about, you gave a lot of interviews to some authors of a book called Find Me the Witness, right?
I would not characterize it as a lot. I probably have spoken to them
Your Honor, I'm
2 or
gonna
3
object.
times.
My question is relevant as to
I think it's already come up that finances are discussed in the book. I'll overrule that.
Thank you.
Ms. Wilson, you can continue your answer.
what came up with Mr. Wade as it relates to hearsay statements that he was asked about in relation to what Ms. Willis may or may not have said in relation to an author. So it's not.
Hey man, y'all
relevant
been
to
rocking out with me for
testimony that's occurring.
damn 2.5 hours. I
think
appreciate
Ms.
y'all.
Merchant has said that inside the book, she also makes a statement as to her own finances, and that's at issue.
So you gave interviews to the authors of this book, correct?
Once or twice.
Okay.
Let's say
And
3 times just to be comprehensive. I don't know if it was 3 times, 2 or 3 times, I think.
you were quoted in the book, and I will give you a chance to say if this is a misquote. You were quoted, when they asked you about if you wanted to run for office for DA, you were quoted, "I really don't want to be financially effed up again." Do you remember saying that?
So what that refers to, so that
My
we're
question first is if you remember saying that.
I remember saying something similar to that, but I would like to be able to explain what that's
That's
in
fine.
reference to. That's not in reference to anything else. It was a huge sacrifice to be district attorney of Fulton County, huge. I was doing just fine. I had a municipal court judgeship that was paying me $100-something thousand a year, and like you got to show up twice a week. Easiest thing I've ever done in life. I also had private clients that were paying me to represent them, so I was able to have a law practice and that. raising two daughters by
She's doing a
myself.
terrible
There were
job.
times in life when
Ashley
things were
Merchant is
hard.
doing a
And so
terrible job.
I was telling people, I don't really run for DA. I don't want to run for DA. I'm in a good position right now. I got this easy job that I enjoy, being the chief judge of the city of South Fulton. I'm making money at the law firm, and I'm not sure that I want to make this sacrifice. And why does it always have to be me? Eventually, I prayed. I think that I was the appropriate person. I think that I did that. So when
So
you're
she's
referring
proving
to
that she was making
what I'm
money as a
saying is,
judge.
why should I make a sacrifice again? And what I was not talking about is being district attorney. Once you get elected district attorney, you're in a fine financial position. I make over $200,000 a year. What I was talking about is I ran for judge. When I ran for judge, I took $50,000 of my personal money,
Her
out
own
of my
money.
retirement, and that money ended up being lost. And I know when you bet on yourself, you're going to have to bet money on yourself. And so what I was talking about was not wanting to go through the personal financial expense of running for office.
Y'all can't
By no
catch her
means did
up.
I
You
think
not about
that
to
I
catch
was
her
going
up.
to be financially in a bad position once I won. Let's talk about what I was up against, because it's important to understand that comment. I had a district attorney who had been here for 24 years.
And Judge, I
People,
don't
no,
wanna
this
interrupt
is,
her, but
it's
she's not
very
answering the
relevant as to
questions.
what my mindset was about this. So I'm trying to answer your question. So what I was saying is
Tailored solely to finance.
right, but it is about my finances.
It was about
If
your finances.
I didn't, nobody put me in this seat. So I had already run for office once. I had spent $50,000 of my own money running, and it was vamoose, nothing. And so when I'm talking to those offers, I'm talking about the contemplation of the sacrifice of the run, not the sacrifice of once you become DA. The odds were against me. I was likely going to lose the election based on who I was running against. So that needs to be in the appropriate context.
Isn't it true?
Yeah,
that
she
the
tried
authors
to
also
mess up her
wrote, and you
words.
can dispute this if you'd like, that you were broke after that race.
The 2018 race. Yeah,
Yes.
that was a hard race. I wasn't broke like I didn't have any. So broke is relative to depending where you are, but
Right.
that hurt.
See, white
to
people
lose that
don't- white-
$50,000.
white
So
people
I'm
don't get
sure
that.
My mental mindset was like, I just
I'm
gave
broke.
$50,000 away.
Right.
Yeah.
So they characterized it from their conversations with you that you were broke, you had poured your own money into the campaign, and you weren't able to pay your own bills because of your, your clients couldn't pay their bills to you, and you had a paltry array of family and asset forfeiture cases. It says you were trying to make it month to month. Is that an accurate depiction of your financial situation at that point?
I would want to read that, but I don't remember clients not being able to pay their bills. Or
May I approach, Judge?
you can.
You may.
Page 30.
Oh shit. She said you can't. You ain't the
have
judge
not
no
read
more,
this book.
Fani. You ain't the judge no more. Hold on, Kashar said they can't hear anything.
So like this fact here, her ex-husband Fred had run into a financial.
Can you hear it
I have
now?
no information about
Audio
that.
should be
Asked
straight.
about if what they represent from their interviews with you, that you were broke.
Yeah,
and
let me
you
know
had
if y'all
clients
can't
that
hear
weren't
it.
able to pay their bills.
Can you show me where that is? Because this is where you put the tab, so that's what I read.
Broke, couldn't pay their bills.
Yeah, that I'm sure I characterized myself as broke as leaving that $50,000. I don't know that I had her nascent law practice at paltry array of.
Well, you just
I didn't
mentioned
have-
lucrative
Ms.
law
Merchant.
practice.
I didn't. I thought I had a law practice. So this is not correct. I'm
Okay,
sure it's just I didn't have any asset forfeiture cases. So I had one case where they had took one of my clients' money at the airport. I don't know if that's what their I don't know. Paltry array. I did have family law cases. I guess that's what they're talking about. And clients who couldn't pay their bills ain't clients. So no.
So my question was just if this was a fair and accurate representation where it says you were trying to make it month to month at that point.
No, I don't think that is actually a fair and accurate representation, but I am certain that after the 2018 election, I'm still not really happy about having given up that 50,000.
You know when you paid your tax lien?
I don't.
You don't? Do you know if you paid it?
I know I've paid some taxes. I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
Did you tell anyone at Fulton County Board of County Commissioners about your relationship with Mr. Wade?
No.
Did you disclose your relationship to anybody at Fulton County?
No, I don't think so.
And as the chief law enforcement officer of Fulton County, I assume that you're familiar with the county code and ordinances?
I've said we're not going to cover that in this hearing, Ms. Merchant.
I'm sorry, Judge?
We said we weren't going to cover the county regulations.
Okay, and I won't. Let me ask you this then. So are you aware that you're required to disclose any relationship with someone that you contract with in Fulton County?
I'm gonna object to the court prior ruling that you made this morning. You made.
Would this be different because it's a potential for impeachment?
Yes.
What did you ask me?
Ms. Merchant, if you could re-ask the question.
Okay. Are you aware that Fulton County requires you to disclose any relationship with someone that you're doing business with?
I'm not aware, and I know often that things are confused with state constitutional officers in county, but I'm not aware.
Okay. So it's not so it's your understanding that you don't have a duty to disclose the
She's
relationship?
answered that question. Let's keep going.
Y'all see how he got to keep checking her?
Did you keep
ass?
track of this cash that you paid him at all?
No, why would you do that?
understand.
Did you keep track? Did you keep a ledger? Did you keep track of it?
Why would you do that?
So I've
If you-
only given him cash, as I mentioned, 3 or 4 times. There's no ledger. This is friends handing money off to each other.
So the answer is no, you
I
didn't
think,
keep
and I think
track.
you've already asked whether there was any written proof whatsoever, and she's
Yes.
answered that.
Okay.
So we've covered this. Let's move on.
Rookies, man. Rookies. I was hoping
Who are you
she
referring
was
to
gonna
when
be
you
more
suggested
exciting
that
than
Mr.
this.
Roman's
man.
motion to disqualify was racially motivated?
We already said we're not talking about the forensic misconduct that's been alleged.
And
And just so the record is clear, I don't believe I said that his motion was racially motivated, so I don't want that to stay there. I've never said his motion was racially motivated, so that should not be
Ms. Willis,
true
I
if
think
she
it would
wrote
be
that.
best if we don't need to go down that road. We're going to save that for argument.
you once said that you would not engage with a personal relationship with anyone that worked for Fulton County. Is that correct?
An employee?
Anyone that worked for Fulton County.
I think I said an employee.
Okay. So that's the qualification you give an employee? You wouldn't.
I think that's a statement that I made, so if you want to quote me accurately.
So it's your position because Mr. Wade was not an employee, or it's your position he wasn't an employee, correct?
Mr. Wade is not an employee, and he will tell you that over and over again.
Just 1 moment, Judge.
Woo! Get her off her square. Get her off her square. Why? Like, why? Where do all these terrible judges come from?
What you said was you won't sleep with people who work under you. Do you not consider Mr. Wade working under you?
I consider Mr. Wade to be an agent.
Agent?
Yeah,
All right.
an appointee is what I really think of him as.
Your point, whatever merit it has, Ms. Merchant, is on the record. Next question. All right.
Oh yeah, that
Any
was
moments
terrible.
In a minute, Mr. Sadow.
That was
All right.
terrible. Ashley Merchant embarrassed herself. Alina Haba 2.0. That was ass. She made no ground. Yeah,
I'm gonna
somebody
try to ask
please
you
tell me
questions
what
that
she
you can actually
established.
answer without having to explain, okay?
Yes, sir. My comprehension skills are pretty good, so we should do all right.
We shall soon see.
Oh, did he call her
If I
comprehension
heard
in
you
the
correctly,
question?
you moved into what I will refer to as the Yurti condo in either March or April of 2021. Is that correct?
Sometime between late February and April. Yes, I don't, just so we're clear. Yes, but in that time period, you're in the ballpark. We're in the ballpark.
And is that Yurti condo, would you say that it is in Hapeville?
I'm trying to
Yes,
figure
yes,
out
sir.
like
Yes,
where
sir.
is they trying
And
to
you
go
moved
with
in
this
there
condo
for safety
shit.
reasons?
My father, yes, I moved in there. We were concerned. My father was terribly concerned about me continuing to live at the house. And so that we're clear, people came to my house at 5 o'clock in the morning about the police brutality cases, saying I was going to have a wake-up call. There were security threats due to gang cases, and there were concerns due to that was at the very beginning of this, looking into that. And so for all of those reasons and what was happening, my father wanted me out the house, and begrudgingly I left.
Okay, so the answer to the question was a yes for safety reasons, correct?
Those were all of the things that caused the safety concerns. I'm
I'm
sorry
not
if,
questioning whether they are or are not safety concerns.
Let's go.
I just asked that you moved into this condo, the RT condo, for
Right.
safety reasons, right?
yes,
Okay. At the time that you moved into the condo, be it from February to April of 2021,
yes,
was your father still living in your house?
right, because my father,
That's
yeah,
all I ask you.
but I get to explain the answer,
I,
sir.
I don't know if there's an explanation. If I ask you, was your father still living at your house?
So he got,
The
so
answer
he,
is either he was.
he got that white
or he
male
wasn't.
privilege. She
Yes,
ain't have to
but
back
you are
down
going
like
to
that.
get to argue at the end of this, as we both
I'm not
know.
gonna
And
argue
so
anything.
I
I'm
would
gonna
like to
ask-
be able
All
to
right.
explain why.
I'm
And
gonna,
so,
Okay,
yes,
Ms. Willis?
because my father is an older gentleman,
Ms.
he
Willis?
was worried about COVID and he stayed.
Ms. Willis, I'm gonna have to say that's second time. Whenever we have to put a pause, we stop testifying, okay? You'll have a chance to explain yourself. The question was.
She,
whether
hey, she
your
not playing
father
with
was
them.
Not staying there at the time.
She is not playing with
and
them.
You're clarifying that in your answer as well. You can have a brief clarification, but it shouldn't be something that reaches well beyond the question. All right, Mr. Sadov, you can re-ask the question. We'll see where it takes us.
okay, thank you, Your Honor. Was your father still living in your house at the time you moved to what I would refer to as the Yurti condo?
Yes, sir, he was due to his concerns related to COVID.
The safety concern was that there was potential danger at your house. Is that correct?
Yes, my address had been exposed, so yes, there was concerns about potential danger at my house.
Okay, so anyone staying at your house in the time period after you went.
See, and now,
to
now he's just trying to
condo
question whether or
was
not
still in danger, correct?
it was still
Yeah,
danger.
well, no, he did.
I think you have to. It's your attorney, Ms. Willis. Sorry, Mr. Body.
I told y'all.
Speculation
Yes.
to the question
It ain't
of
speculation.
Look, Fani,
whether
let
someone
him
was
do
still in
his
danger at her
job.
condo.
I can read, I can.
Just let her answer the question.
Or Mr.
I-
Sadov
I
wants
told
to
y'all
rephrase.
that they're not up.
Yeah,
I'm not
I was able to
I've got
understand it.
I've got the objection and then I have,
I'll withdraw the objection. You can move forward.
Okay.
So, and I don't remember the question, so I can answer it.
oh, you can now that the objection's been withdrawn. Can you try to answer that question?
Yes,
There's still a safety concern
I was.
for people staying at the house.
Yes.
Yes, I was very concerned about my father still living at the house. However, if you have dealt with an older gentleman, he was not leaving the house, despite my urging him that I thought he should leave as well. He did not want to leave the house because he was particularly worried at his age about COVID. But that became I don't want to say I was not happy with that decision of my father's, but I can't ultimately make him leave, and he stayed there too long, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. During that period that you left to go to the Yerti condo,
Somebody
did any
please
of your
help me understand
children
where any of this is
stay
going.
at your house?
So I don't think that they were there at that point. Certainly my baby wasn't there.
I'm talking about this entire period. We're talking about, if I remember correctly, and you'll correct me, I'm sure, you said that you stayed there at what I would call the Yerti condo.
Yeah, we're gonna rock
until
out about 30
January
more
of
minutes.
2022, correct?
I'm
Yes.
gonna get 30
Okay,
more
so
minutes
I'm
of this, and then I
asking you
gotta
in that
break out,
period,
y'all.
which would be February to April of 2021 until January of 22. Did any of your children stay at your house?
And you don't have to yell at me. I'm able to understand. So I would ask you to not yell at me. That being said, I don't actually expressly remember, but I can tell you, since I have left my home, there have been times my oldest daughter came in. But I can't tell you with certainty the time window that you've said, if they did or not. And so I don't want to speculate to that, but there was some time that my oldest daughter came back. Whether it was that period or after I left the Yurti residence, I'm not sure, okay?
Okay, so if I continue to go into more detail on this, you're not going to be able to give me an answer of whether or not, in fact, any of your children were still at the house or stayed at your house during that time period, correct?
What I can give you clarity of, so that we are clear, is from the time I moved out in February-ish of 2021, after I left there was a time period that my oldest daughter came back. But if you're asking me, was it in that window or after, I just don't have a recollection of that because, you know, your kids come and they go. And so I don't remember the specific time period, and I apologize for that.
Did your children ever stay with you at the Yurty condo?
Like maybe a night,
Okay.
like for a girls' night or something, but live with, no.
Okay. Did anyone else stay with you at the Yurty condo,
That was a-
Why
including
is
Miss
this-
Yurty?
Never. Miss Yurty never lived in the condo. She met her husband and they moved. They weren't quite married, but they moved. Nobody ever lived with me in the condo. That was the,
My
A
word
lonely
was, my
period.
word was stayed, not lived. Stayed with you at the condo.
I guess I don't understand the distinction, but no one ever, I think my baby, my oldest child, I think she spent one night with me, maybe my oldest and my youngest. But I think that whole time I was in that place, other than that one night, I don't think anyone ever, that was a very lonely period in my life. I don't think anyone ever spent the night other than maybe one night. I remember a picture of my baby sitting on the couch in that place, and I'm thinking she spent that night. But just a very lonely time in life.
Okay. Now, we'll stay with the lonely theme just for a minute. Did Nathan Wade visit you at the Yurty
Asked
condo
and answered. Asked and answered. This
from
question
the
is
time
already.
you moved in until he was hired on November the 1st of 2021?
So I moved out of that condo, but during that time period, I'm sure he came to visit. He came to visit. I can remember us going, I think the restaurant's Lickety Split. I can remember him picking me up, going to Lickety Split and ordering some food and coming and sitting at my table and eating. So I remember times that he visited me at that condo. Yes.
Okay, could you give us an approximation of how many times Mr. Wade visited you at the condo between the time you moved in and prior to November 1 of 2020?
I don't think often, but I don't want to speculate.
Can we say more than 5, more than 10?
I'm gonna tell you the problem I'm having here. Let's say more than 10, but I'm not sure that that's even accurate. He certainly has come and picked me up, gone and grabbed some food to eat. I don't remember him being in that condo a lot.
Can anybody help me understand?
I'm
how
sorry.
this,
You want
what
a
this
number,
proves?
and what I don't want to do.
Giving me your
is to
current
mess-
and best recollection is all I'm asking for.
That's all I can give you, sir.
How many times did any of the prosecution team, how many times did Anna Cross come to that condo between
this
the
is
time
so
you moved
weird.
in and November 1st of 2021?
I don't think Anna's ever been to that condo.
What about any other prosecutor that's involved in the prosecution of this case?
I don't think any of them have.
Just Mr. Wade.
That's correct, sir.
But it was a lonely time.
Oh my God, that 2021, I have a lot of guilt about this time period in my life. Let me tell you why. But yes, it was a lonely time.
Okay.
I was very appreciative to the citizens for giving me this responsibility and this duty. But what I very, very quickly learned is that this is a very isolating job, and 2021 was a lonely time. I turned 50 in 2021. That's probably one of the worst birthdays I've ever had. I spent it alone. So I have a clear recollection of 2021 being lonely.
Okay. Did Mr.
Niggas trying to
Wade
question
ever
her
come visit
loneliness
you
and
at
shit,
the
like-
condo in the time period I'm talking about, prior to November of 2021, when Miss Yurty was at the condo?
So Miss Yurty and me, we didn't share the condo at the same time,
So the answer would be no.
but we never stayed there together. So it's an
Well, I'm saying-
impossibility.
It's an impossibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Miss Yurty, because we need to get clarification on this. Miss Yurty stayed in that place. There may have been a time that me and Mr. Wade visited, like went and saw Miss Yurty, but me and Miss Yurty never lived there together. Just so we're clear.
Well, maybe that was clear, but I'm going to have to try again.
Okay.
Was Miss Yurty still living in the condo
No.
when you moved in?
Not a day.
Okay.
No.
So
That
what
was
I'm
another
talking,
misrepresentation in this. We never lived together. I never lived with Miss Yurty.
my question though, I'm trying to understand
Okay.
that after you moved in to the condo, Miss Yurty she was out of the condo, right?
She got a house.
That's all I'm asking. She's not in the condo.
We never stay, Miss Yurty and I never stay a day together in the condo. All of her stuff was out of the condo and all my stuff, some of my stuff, not all of it obviously, was moved into the condo. So we never stayed there together. No, sir.
All right. So when I ask you about Mr. Wade visiting the condo, when
Yes.
you were staying there,
Yes,
Ms. Yerty wasn't staying there, correct?
that would be correct. Yes.
She wouldn't be at the condo, correct?
No, she would not have been.
It would be you and Mr. Wade alone at the condo, correct?
Yes.
That is, there weren't any other witnesses to Mr. Wade and
Jesus,
you.
how
at
many
the
times
condo,
can they
correct?
ask the same damn
Yes.
question?
No security, none of your security detail.
I'm gonna object. She said it was just her and Mr. Wade.
You made your point, Mr. Sadow. Let's move on to the next one.
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't even know
Who
what
in
point
the
was made.
prosecution team prior to, I guess, the motion being filed by defendant Roman, who in the prosecution team knew of your personal relationship, and now I'm talking romantic, with Mr. Wade?
So, sir, I am extremely private.
All I
No,
asked
no, no,
is
no.
who knew.
It-
It's not, if you, the answer is no one knew, that's fine.
No.
I ask you who knew.
You could answer
me
it,
just tell you
answer it
this.
and then explain this, Willis.
I am very private. When I supervised Mr. Body and Mr. McAfee, they didn't know who I was dating, but I can assure you I was dating somebody. So that I kept something private, that's my private life, is not any mystery to anyone. It's like a woman doesn't have the right to keep her private life private. And I'm speaking on this because there've been all these intimations.
You still haven't answered the question, Ms. Willis.
I'm sorry, what was the question, then, Your Honor?
Is there anyone else who knew about it? And then you can explain.
I don't know. I don't think so. I certainly didn't go out telling my business to the world.
Okay, so the best of your recollection, you didn't inform anyone on the prosecution team that the individual that you had chosen to lead the prosecution team had a personal relationship with you.
So
Is that correct?
That's inaccurate. Your question is inaccurate.
What?
Because you stated that the person I chose, we had a personal relationship. So we had a friendship. We have all these distinguishing factors. Remember, when I chose him in November of 21, first of all, let's get this straight. Mr. Wade was not actually my first choice. That's no insult to him.
Your Honor,
No,
I
it is
don't-
you, because of the way you phrased the question. You said, when I chose him, I didn't inform people of a personal relationship. We have defined personal as romantic. It is an inaccurate way to state the question.
Then I will
as-
certainly restate it so it is very accurate.
Get him
And
together.
Please do not yell at me.
You hired Mr. Wade for the first time on November 1st of 2021, correct?
Of 2021, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Your testimony is, whether one accepts it or not, your testimony is that at the time you hired Mr. Wade, there had never been a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade before you hired him, correct?
Yes, my testimony is that we were very good friends, but not, well, we're talking about a sex, so let's just don't.
No, I'm not talking about, I'm saying romantic relationship doesn't necessarily have to be just sex.
Well,
It can
I
be
don't-
dating, it can be holding hands, it can be any of
But
those
when they was
things
when they was
that
asking
one
him
might
questions, it was always, when did
call
y'all have
romantic.
intercourse?
I'm
Intercourse
asking
this,
you
intercourse that.
whether or not prior to November 1st of 2021, there was a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade. It's very simple. It's either a yes or a no.
I don't consider my relationship with him to be romantic before that. I'm not a hand holder, so no.
Okay, that's fine. Now, let's move beyond November 1st of 2020.
Yes.
2021, excuse me. If I understand your testimony, there was no romantic relationship with Mr. Wade until early in 2022, whether it be January or February or March, early in 2022, correct?
I would say sometime between February and April. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm asking you about that time period when it became romantic,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Thank you.
Okay. You didn't see the need, if I understand, to tell any of the people on the prosecution team when you had established a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade, that the lead prosecutor, that is the man that was basically giving orders to others, was dating or having a romantic relationship with you, correct?
I'm gonna object to relevance at this point, Your Honor.
Mr.
Not
Sadow,
relevant.
relevance.
It just to prove or attempting to show that there is an issue on the credibility about the relationship. The failure to have informed anyone on her team that she was having a romantic relationship with the lead prosecutor, I suggest gives rise to that inference. That's the relevance.
The inference that
that they were concealing this because it was not as it's been characterized to the court, and that in fact it started earlier than what they say.
That doesn't drive inference to
Mr.
that.
Sato.
I just want to make sure that we're clear.
That doesn't infer that.
From at least 2020, me and Mr. Wade were friends. At least that time period.
Okay, I'm not talking
Okay,
about.
so no, I want to be clear because my credibility is being evaluated here, right? We were friends. We hung out prior to November of 2021. In November of 2021, I hired him. I do not consider our relationship to have become romantic until early of 2022. Because I don't know a date and time, I'm saying sometime between February and April of 2022, and very early April of 2022, because I know that trip that I discussed with you was like the first week of 2022, that the relationship had become romantic. I hope that answered your question, but I can't have it where, you know, we're saying something differently.
All right, so you've established the timeline as you put it. The question originally was, at that time, did you tell any other prosecutors on the prosecution
I
team?
never tell people at work who I'm dating.
All right, Mr. Sato.
Okay. Did you take any trips to DC with Mr. Wade?
Never.
Did you take, okay, so do you have no, what I would call personal trips or business trips to DC with Mr. Wade?
I never went to DC with Mr. Wade, personal, business, otherwise, never.
Okay, so,
I've never been in the District of Columbia with Mr. Wade or Maryland, Virginia, the DMV as they call it.
so as I understand it, just to be clear, any trips that you would have taken to see DC
That was,
would not have,
that was a pretty clear answer.
huh?
That was a pretty clear answer. She just said no.
Twice.
So do you have a variation or something new to bring up?
I'll ask it and we'll see. Did you take trips to DC that were non-business during the time period that this case or this
The same
matter was
question.
under investigation?
The same
Then
question.
object as to relevance as it relates to the matter that we're here before your honor today.
Well, again, the question already asked was, did you take personal or business trips?
The answer is no.
And she said,
But that was with
Personal
Mr.
or
Wade.
business?
That was with Mr. Wade. This I asked her alone whether she took.
okay.
What's the relevance?
And what would be the relevance of that?
I'm trying to understand whether or not we have an ability to show a personal trip in which Mr. Wade is there at the same time. I understand her answer. Okay, I understand her answer, but we have documents, we have records that,
Your honor, I'm going
Okay.
to object to the documents, the things that have.
Well, this could be something that's maybe not part of the record yet, but as if he has I think there have been other things discussed in this case, and they have evidence that Mr. Wade may have been in DC at the same time. If you want to ask about that exact specific date, Mr. Sadon, you can do that.
I would
I-
reference to the court that that was not asked of Mr. Wade. Anything about any trips to DC.
Sure. And so that's going to limit its merit and impact and on credibility. So Mr. Sadon, ask the question.
So
He tired. He
I
tired of
understand
this.
your testimony is you never took a trip to DC with Mr. Wade.
that's correct.
Personal or business.
That's correct.
Were you ever in DC at the same time as Mr. Wade?
I was not.
On personal or business?
No, me and Mr. Wade have not been to DC at the same time. However, since Mr. Wade has been on this case, he's been to DC. Since Mr. Wade has been on to this case, I've been to DC. What has not happened is we have not been in the District of Columbia at the same time. Now, the only thing I'm not sure about with what you asked me is if I've been to DC personally, because I got a lot of personal friends in that area. But I know that I have been to DC. I did an interview at Howard University. I went to DC for that. Seems like I've been to DC one other time. Oh, I went to DC for the Global Summit. Actually, yeah, those were two separate trips.
My next question is based on her opening the door, and therefore I'll just ask it and your honor can decide whether or not it's appropriate. When you went to DC, did you go to the White House?
I did not go to the White House.
No. Well,
Apparently, I'm going to get the answer anyhow.
there you have it. Next question.
Okay.
See,
You indicated
Trump theory.
your best recollection.
Did you go to the
was
nothing
that
to
your
do with this case? But
relationship
she not
with Mr.
scared. That's why
Wade,
she answered
a
it.
romantic relationship ended. You left it in August of 2023. That sound right?
That's the hard conversation. That's not the,
We've covered this. Next question.
And you characterized it as a tough conversation, correct?
yes,
I'm not going to get into
She's
the
trying to be funny
conversation
now.
per
we
se.
should.
No, see, she's trying to be
Want
funny now.
We won't go there. So, Mr. Sadell, next question.
You know, it's kind of hard to say no when you've got that opportunity, but all I'm going to say is was it pre-indictment in this case?
So,
We know the timeline that the indictment was delivered.
okay,
Well,
but-
actually,
and
no,
so that
so
we're
I'll give you
clear,
that.
the
Okay.
physical relationship
She punking the
Ended.
judge.
pre-indictment.
And is that when you were talking about the tough conversation?
But
was-
I'm not sure that the tough conversation didn't happen till after, but the physical relationship. So I'm sure if you ask Mr. Wade, because he's a male, he would say we ended June or July because
Shots.
physical contact ended then. Just in my mind, being a woman, it's over when you have that like hard conversation. I just think women and men think differently.
And I
She
think the answer,
cooking.
Mr. Sadell, to your question was she's not sure whether it was before or after the indictment.
Well, I'm not sure that was her answer, but let's see if I can get specific.
That is what I said. That's what I said.
I'll let you. Next question, Mr. Sadell. If you need to
Want to say
clarify.
one more? The romantic relationship ended before the indictment was returned, yes or no?
To a man, yes.
Well, to a man, yes. To you, no?
She's explained this, Mr. Sadell.
And did the,
She did
and
already
did the
explained it like
forthcoming
3
indictment
times.
have anything to do with that?
Oh,
Or was it just a coincidence?
let's go on and have the conversation.
I just ask you whether or not it was a coincidence.
Had
or-
absolutely nothing to do with this. It's interesting that we're here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion.
Whoa.
And so there was tension always in our relationship,
Talk
which
to
is
him.
why I was give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever
Talk
foot my
to
bills
him.
completely is my daddy.
Ask and
Would
answer.
like to add to that?
No,
Sure.
but I'm sure we'll talk about it further.
No, we're not going to talk about it further.
All right, no back and forth, Mr. Sadell. Next question.
My next question is something that that has to do with the.
Why she
what
put
I've
that nigga on
characterized
blast like
as the
that?
church speech. Let me just tell you what the question is, because I know that's not something.
Preserve it for the record.
Huh?
You can preserve the questions for the record, but then we'll move on.
That's correct. Thank you. When you gave what I've referred to as the Martin Luther King weekend church speech, you know what I'm referring to.
A great honor of mine. That's a historic African-American church. Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you have handwritten notes with you that you were reading from during the speech?
And on second thought, Mr. Sadell, because you might have a number of questions about this, why don't we just bullet point what you would want to cover on this, preserved for the record, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Okay.
Since I had laid out before that the forensic misconduct isn't a
So
subject
do
of the
I
evidentiary
not
hearing.
get an answer for that?
That's right.
Okay. Did you read your speech?
Well, no, Mr. Sadell, for everything related to any forensic
Oh, you just want me to
misconduct
stay out
claims.
of it now?
We're just not, we can do it in a bullet form if you just want to cover what you would have asked. But it's
Oh
not the
yeah,
question
Miss
and
Ma'am,
answer
the
form.
manosphere gonna.
So I should do that
Yeah,
at
they're
this
gonna be on
point,
a
or do it
whole
sure, when
nother
you're
one.
ready?
She a
We
whole
can do it
modern
right now,
woman
so
to
it's
these
fresh
niggas.
on
I'm going to ask her about, did she prepare the speech? Did she have notes on the speech? Did she read the speech? When did she do this? When did she write the speech? Who was she referring to when she was talking
No,
about?
ask her about nothing.
Others. Who was she referring to when she said they? Who she was referring to when she spoke in terms of their, that is.
I would love to answer those questions.
Well, Ms. Willis, you could certainly do that in some other format. But for today, that's what we decided we're not going to cover.
He get
Who
tired
was
of
she
her
talking
ass
about that was
too.
playing the race card, and why she didn't tell the people at the church that she had had a personal / romantic relationship with the, all due respect, the way it was characterized, the black man that she was referring to, and was the black man she referring to was at Mr. Wade.
Okay.
That's that area of inquiry.
Noted for the record, Mr. Sadow. Next topic.
Okay. I realize that you've testified that you have no records that with regard to cash payments,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Mhm.
Would your bank records reflect that you withdrew cash from your bank accounts during the time period of 2020, 2021, 2022, or 2023? I'm not asking you, I'm just asking whether they would reflect that you withdrew cash from any of your bank accounts.
So the exact amounts?
No,
But
just
yeah,
that you did.
of course, I withdrew money throughout that time period, throughout my life. I've withdrawn money from the bank. Yes, of course.
Talking about cash from, that is that you go to a
Cash,
bank
right.
or you go to
You
an
withdraw
ATM
cash. They
and
be
you
acting
take
dumb.
cash out.
These
Either
people
that
be
way, or you
acting
go to
dumb.
Publix and you overpay, or you go to another store and you overpay. So yes, both through that, yes, of course they would reflect that at times.
Okay, and so those records, if we
Again,
have
they're
them,
trying
would
to
show
find
that,
a reason
correct?
to subpoena
That throughout
bank
the
records.
course of my life, I
No,
took out
no,
money.
I was very specific. I said
Yes, during the course
2020.
of that time period, I would have taken money out. Yes,
So do you have a problem with?
I
But
absolutely,
You
yes.
don't- You don't want the bank records to be made available for the court and the court
I'm
alone?
going to object as to the relevance, and this has already been addressed earlier as it relates to other records. This is an improper line of questioning. He's doing it for the purpose of harassment, to be perfectly frank. Your Honor.
I'm just going to sustain it on relevance. Mr. Sadow, that's
Yeah,
something you
like
wanna
he's like, are you being
follow up
dramatic?
privately? You can do that.
Last area, briefly.
Yes, sir.
You had contact with Mr. Wade in the year 2020, correct?
After this line of questioning,
I had some contact.
we're gonna go
with
ahead and
Mr.
break
Wade.
out.
Would you
We're gonna go
explain
ahead and
when
break
you say
out.
some
I'll try to
contact?
come back.
Please
But
tell
yeah,
us.
after this
We're
one,
talking
I gotta
about
take off.
2020.
I had some contact with Mr. Wade in 2020. One of the reasons your allegations are so preposterous, or Miss Merchants that you have joined, is
Ma'am,
No, no,
I
no,
didn't
no,
ask
this-
you about the allegations. I asked you about your contact. That's all I ask you, okay? I appreciate that you want to say something, but I'm interested in, did you have contacts with Mr. Wade in 2020? And your answer so far has been yes, correct?
very limited contact because Mr. Wade had a form of cancer that makes your allegations somewhat ridiculous.
And I do appreciate the
I'm not going to
characterization.
emasculate a black man, but I'm just telling you
I'm
that
sorry, what?
I'm not going to emasculate a black man. Did you understand that?
All
I don't
let's
think
get
we should
back on
discuss
track.
further.
Mr. Sadow, next question.
Trying to, Your Honor. Would you tell us on the occasions in 2020 that you had contact with Mr. Wade?
I'm sorry, I thought I had answered that. Yes, yes, sir. There were times in 2020 I had contact, but 2020 was a year I was running for office. It was a year that he was going through some serious medical issues, and I did not have much contact, but I certainly had contact with him in 2020.
Did
It
you go
wasn't-
out to eat with him?
Maybe, probably.
Did you visit him in any location, his office, or did he visit you in your office in 2020?
this is ass. This is
I am
ass.
sure I'm sure, ooh, that's a very good question. I'm sure he came to 750 in 2020.
750 is,
Was my office.
okay.
Not often, but maybe once or twice. Maybe I went to his office once or twice, but maybe once.
And the purpose for going to his office would have been what?
Maybe we would have went to Mellow Mushrooms for pizza, or maybe he would have come for lunch. I'm sure we went by each other's office though, but not often, not a lot. We both grinding, trying to make a
But wait,
living.
I understand what you've said about the cancer, and I'm not going into that. But when you were going out with him to restaurants, or when he would come to your office, right? Those were not sterile environments, were they?
Oh, very sterile, because it
The
was,
restaurants were sterile environments?
a lot of times we wouldn't eat there. We would pick up something and go in, but they were, you're
I'm listening to you. You pick up and take it to where?
maybe eat at our office, but it did not happen much. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. And my office in 2020, nobody was coming in. I was stir crazy, so I would still go into my office. If you remember, when I started this, I said, I am not even sure if we came to each other's offices, but I am trying to be over cautious. So I think I can recall him at 750 a couple of times. I just think I can recall him at 750 once, but let's say twice. I have seen his office.
Look, she giving him
I
something.
remember all the awards in the lobby, but I'm not sure in 2020 I went. I'm not even sure I went in 2020 at all. I just want to tell you yes, because I'm not sure. But I have a distinct recollection of him at 750. I actually don't have a distinct recollection of me at his office in 2020, but maybe I went to his office in 2020, maybe.
Did you have ongoing phone conversations during 2020 with Mr. Wade?
Oh yeah, I talked to, yes, absolutely. Yes,
Yes, no question about that.
no question. I talked to him on the phone in 2020.
I understood, and this is, maybe I was confused. The Belize trip was for
His 50th birthday.
his 50th birthday, and that was in
March. He turned 50 March 18th of 2023. If you look at the dates of the trip, I think we were there about 6 days. We stayed at 2 different locations.
and
So
you paid for it.
100%. He said, not only, I mean, I paid for the hotel, I paid for the flights, I had a birthday luncheon for him, I paid for massages, I paid for everything.
And
I
would
love black
those
women.
payments be reflected on your
I
credit
paid for the
card?
cash,
You paid them in cash?
cabs. I was telling you all the different things I paid for.
I'm asking you whether or not those payments would be reflected on credit card bills of yours.
So there was about $500 that I think is reflected on a debit card. What my recollection is, I took about 4 in cash with me to that.
400 or 4,000?
4,000. But I remember I handed him 2,500, and then the rest was just the money we spent. I probably gave $300 or $400 to this guy who was a taxi driver. He would drive us every day around the 2 or 3 days we went.
Yeah, because what
Took him to eat, like it
Nathan
was
Wade
my-
even
it
said
was my
already
trip
is that
money.
And
he
you
would
had-
book the
to
trips
be
and she
clear,
would pay
to end
for
this up,
like she
the
would
4,000 that you just told
refund
me.
all
I
of
didn't
that.
give it all to him, remember. I only gave the 2,500 to him.
I didn't ask you that. I was going to ask you that 4,000 is part of my words, cash hoard that you had collected over time.
Cash what?
Hoard, H-O-R-D-E.
Oh, I thought you said something different, sir.
No, I'm afraid I wouldn't say that in any circumstances to you or in
All right,
court.
back on track.
So hoard, cash hoard.
I would not classify it in that way, but I have money at my house. Yes, sir.
And the money, when you had money at your house,
I'm speaking too loosely. I had money wherever I was staying. So I was not referring to my house in 750. I'm saying I had money wherever I was laying my head. Yes, sir. That was my fault that I was.
Yeah, this line of
so
question
when you
ain't
were
went
at,
nowhere
what we
neither.
said, the Yerti condo, during the time period we've always discussed, that's where you would keep your cash.
When I stayed there, yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, y'all.
All right, I want to see if we can get through a few more defense counsel possible before breaking for today. Mr. Stockton.
Oh, okay. So we made it through the whole
This
thing.
attorney, I'm Alan Stocks, and I don't think we've had the pleasure of meeting.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Oh yeah. So they're gonna get through his
Madam
questioning.
DA, you described these very
Yeah, they're gonna get through his questioning. I have to prepare to take off. I got a little engagement. Appreciate everybody that joined me for this part of the, you know what I'm saying, for the conversation. Y'all stay tuned because I'm definitely gonna come back with an analysis, with my analysis. It'll probably be later this evening where we kind of go through some of the key points and where I think the judge will end up. But if y'all want to continue watching this, make sure y'all pull up to Midas Touch. Go to Midas Touch. They actually got the best audio because they actually in the Zoom courtroom. You know what I'm saying? If y'all want to see that. But again, appreciate y'all joining me. I will see y'all next time. Probably later tonight. But I'm out.